The Matrix, a science fiction film created by the Wachowskis, is probably one of the most influential movies ever made. The story starts when computer programmer Thomas Anderson, operating as a hacker under the alias Neo, discovers the truth about the world he's living in, as he becomes aware of the existence of something known as the Matrix. After looking for a man named Morpheus, who can tell him more about the Matrix, he encounters another hacker named Trinity. After a failed attempt, which led to Agent Smith capturing and bugging him, Trinity takes Neo to Morpheus. Morpheus vaguely describes the Matrix as this all-encompassing prison, as the world that has been pulled over Neo's eyes, blinding him from the truth. He also admits that no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself, he states. So Neo gets offered a choice in the form of two pills, a blue one and a red one. If he chooses the blue pill, he remains in his everyday life and believes whatever he wants to believe. But if he chooses the red pill, he'll set foot in the real world and find out what the Matrix truly is. All I'm offering is the truth, says Morpheus. And so Neo takes the red pill and tumbles down the rabbit hole. The Matrix is considered a philosophical film that contains many existing philosophical and religious themes like prophecy, love, truth, karma, the nature of reality, and living in a simulation. But there seems to be a particular close connection between the Matrix and Plato's allegory of the cave. In this allegory, presented in Plato's Republic, Socrates describes a group of people chained to a wall within a cave their whole lives. The only reality they know of is the mere shadows projected on the wall in front of them, and they believe these are real entities. Then one of the prisoners is freed. He leaves the cave and gets to experience the real world outside. But when he returns to the cave to enlighten the other prisoners with the truth, he faces resistance. This video analyzes the Matrix film through the lens of Plato's allegory of the cave, while exploring the following question: do we, as human beings, actually want the truth? Please note, this video contains spoilers that reveal the plot. The prisoners of the cave are chained so that they cannot move their legs and necks. They can only sit and watch the wall in front of them, but cannot look around, cannot see each other, nor the wall they're chained to. Behind the prisoners burns a fire. There are people in between the fire and the prisoners. These people hold sticks with several forms: birds, horses, dogs, which project onto the wall. So all they've ever seen are mere projections of objects that appear in the real world, a world that's alien to them. When one of the prisoners is freed and ascends from the cave into the real world, he experiences sunlight for the first time in his life. He is confused and needs time to adapt, as he has never seen the daylight before. But when his eyes have adjusted, he encounters all the forms he recognizes from his life in the cave. But they're different this time. Instead of mere silhouettes, he sees the actual entities, full of color and with profound detail. He then realizes what he thought was real was in fact an illusion. Similarly, Neo has been imprisoned without being able to see the prison. When he wakes up from the simulated reality, his naked body lies in a pod filled with liquid. He notices that his body is full of plugs and then sees millions of other pods with humans connected to what seems a giant machine. After a supervising drone notices that Neo has awakened, his body gets unplugged and discharged into a sewer. After Morpheus' ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, retrieves Neo, he needs some time to adjust to the real world, just like the escapee from Plato's cave. A fundamental difference in experience between Plato's character and Neo is the kind of reality they face. In Plato's allegory, the liberated man ascends from darkness into the light, from the lower level within the cave to a higher level outside. This ascension serves as a metaphor for gaining knowledge and becoming a philosopher, and thus obtaining a clear world vision. Plato's reality presents itself as generally more beautiful in comparison with the cave. Also, the freedom of movement in the outside world is a vast improvement. Overall, the real world seems way more pleasurable, and it would be pretty absurd to exchange it for a life in the cave. But the Matrix is different. Morpheus told Neo that if he chooses the red pill, he will show him how deep the rabbit hole goes, referring to the children's novel Alice in Wonderland. Tumbling down a rabbit hole resembles a descent rather than ascent into reality. This idea comes to fruition when Neo falls from a relatively pleasurable reality into a hellish wasteland devoid of sunlight run by machines. As opposed to Plato's reality, the reality in the Matrix isn't beautiful. It's terrible. Those plugged into the Matrix live in a vast, colorful, sunny world, although with a green haze, resembling the late 90s. They also have access to an endless variety of human pleasures. But in the real world, there's only one human city left, Zion, where people live under subhuman conditions, stuck in the outskirts, continually threatened of being obliterated by machines. So one could argue that, in the case of the Matrix, living imprisoned in the cave is more pleasurable than living freely in the outside world. Shortly after his liberation, Neo initially refuses to accept the truth. "No, I don't believe it. It's impossible," he says after Morpheus showed him what the Matrix is. He showed a typical reaction of someone confronted with the harsh reality, as the architect of the Matrix states in the sequel. Denial is the most predictable of all human responses. We can see this when, for example, we discover that one of our parents isn't our biological parent, or the person we consider our greatest enemy turns out to be our parent. In such cases, the truth carries such a magnitude that accepting it shakes one's identity to its very foundations. Such a massive shift in perception generally terrifies people. Neo asks Morpheus, "I can't go back, can I?" To which Morpheus answers, "But if you could, would you really want to?" Flat-out disregard of the truth is common. Many people prefer living in a safe bubble of lies to looking outside for the truth. Living in a cozy false reality can be pretty convenient and comfortable. You just have to remain ignorant of everything that could burst your bubble. So instead, you go along with the deceptive narrative of the herd, often amplified by mass media and entertainment. But we also see the opposite happening, like people opposing common knowledge, adopting a false truth, like the idea that Earth is flat. So truth, by and large, can be easily fabricated. Merriam-Webster provides a definition of truth that goes as follows: a judgment, proposition, or idea that is true or accepted as true. Morpheus' goal is to liberate the people from the Matrix, but he also realizes that as long as these people are part of the system, they're the enemy. First of all, because so-called agents protect the Matrix. These agents function a bit like a security program to keep Trojan horses and other malware out, and every human projection is potentially an agent. Second of all, most of them aren't ready to be unplugged. Similarly, when Plato's enlightened man tries to persuade the people in the cave to go outside, he meets resistance and ridicule. Plato describes such endeavor as inserting vision into blind eyes. It's a waste of time trying to convince someone of the truth if they aren't receptive to it. Morpheus also states that many are so hopelessly dependent on the system that they'll fight to protect it. Similarly, Socrates asks if these people wouldn't kill the person offering them the truth about their existence. Nevertheless, Plato points to the philosopher's responsibility to act in the interest of the unenlightened ones, even if they're hostile, just as Neo, Morpheus, Trinity, and the other liberated humans do. In Plato's allegory, we see that liberation ultimately positively affects the man who is freed. Also, Neo eventually accepts the truth and embraces reality. But what if someone knows the truth, but hates it so much that he chooses a false reality? Here's where a character named Cypher comes in. Cypher admits he regrets taking the red pill, saying to Neo, almost assuming he feels the same, "I know what you're thinking, because right now I'm thinking the same thing, Actually, I've been thinking it ever since I got here. Why oh why didn't I take the blue pill? End quote. But Neo's body language clearly shows that he is not on the same line as Cypher. Even though he's stranded in the same dark world, he seems rather happy with his liberation. Neo finds meaning in it and sort of takes on the role of Plato's enlightened man, as he takes responsibility to help the people still imprisoned. Moreover, he had always felt that something was off when he was still plugged in and unaware. He felt that he didn't belong there. He wasn't happy. Through his liberation, he found what he was looking for, which probably compensates sufficiently for having to face the bleakness of reality, especially because people regard him as the one, which makes his existence even more meaningful. Cypher, on the other hand, doesn't enjoy reality in the slightest. He also shows little faith in Morpheus' prophecy of the One. Eventually, he plugs himself into the Matrix to attend a secret meeting with Agent Smith. Although his argument probably falls on deaf ears, he tells Smith, "You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss." End quote. Cypher is well aware that he cannot unsee what he has seen, which results from encountering truth. For him, being ignorant was great until Morpheus came along and threw a wet blanket on the party. When the veil of ignorance has been lifted, there's no going back. The truth lies naked in front of us. We cannot unsee that the person we thought was our father isn't our biological father. We cannot unsee the betrayal of a partner we previously believed to be a trustworthy person. A relationship between people changes when its fundamental story turns out to be a lie and reality is not as beautiful as it seems. The relationship was more enjoyable before the truth came out. Sure, it was based on an illusion, but in exchange for not knowing, we felt connection, love, intimacy, pleasure, and, ironically, trust. Truth destroyed all that. Cypher realizes that he's fundamentally stuck in a reality he despises, so he asks Agent Smith to plug him back into the Matrix to make him someone rich and influential, like an actor, as he stated. But most importantly, he wants all of his memories of the real world wiped. In return, he gives him Morpheus. Cypher essentially made a hedonistic decision, exchanging reality and freedom for blissful ignorance. Interestingly enough, he reveals his idea of reality and freedom to Trinity, which makes his decisions reasonable in his eyes. During Cypher's attempt to deport Morpheus, Trinity reminds him that Morpheus set him free. But Cypher disagrees and says that all he does is follow orders of a man who lied to them. And if he has to choose between that and the Matrix, he chooses the Matrix. Trinity then argues that the Matrix isn't real. But again, Cypher disagrees, saying, "I think that the Matrix can be more real than this world." The people liberated from the Matrix have the technological ability to plug themselves into the system and be part of a simulated reality as their so-called residual self-image. They can upload programs directly into their minds that contain skills like martial arts, and load various items into the Matrix, like guns. Lots of guns. So they were exposed to an illusion first. Now, they have become illusionists themselves. When Neo goes back into the Matrix for the first time after his liberation and visits the city he lived in, he sees it in a different light. He realizes that none of his memories ever really happened. He recognizes places where he used to eat, work, live, but lucidly with the knowledge that they're just simulacra. The same must have happened to Plato's enlightened man, going back into the cave for the first time after his ascension, regarding the shadows on the wall. It probably leaves one disillusioned, perhaps disappointed with the lack of mystique these appearances once had. Finding out how a magic trick works makes it a lot less appealing. Truth, therefore, often goes at the expense of enjoyment. An example of this is a legendary character in Western Christian culture called Santa Claus. which originates from the early Christian bishop Saint Nicholas. For most children, Santa Claus is a truly magical experience. The idea of an old bearded man traveling from the North Pole in a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. According to the legend, Santa's elves make toys and other presents in a secret workshop, and Santa brings them to the children on Christmas Eve. With all the stories, songs, fairy tales, and films about Santa Claus, his annual appearance is almost a religious experience to the infant mind. But when children are around the age of 6, their parents begin to tell the truth about Santa Claus. Many kids react emotionally and in disbelief. A once so much enjoyed illusion is crushed and loses its magical appeal. Hence, it's not uncommon to experience nostalgia for the good old time when we were ignorant of the truth and when a surrogate truth was more appealing. Cypher experiences such nostalgia as well. However, interestingly enough, people can still find joy in what they know is fake. An example of this we see in The Matrix is the behavior of a character named the Oracle. The Oracle appears as an elderly woman, but is a program that initially served as one of the founding forces of the third current version of the Matrix. But when she finished her purpose, she went into exile and started supporting the resistance. Even though, as a computer program, she's very well aware of the world's illusory nature, she seems to enjoy it. She clearly shows delight in the smell of cookies, smokes cigarettes, loves candy, and the sunset. We see the same happening with the Merovingian, a character from the sequel, The Matrix Reloaded, who's passionate about the French language and loves beautiful women and serving them dessert with a happy ending. He also seems to enjoy the taste of olives, like a true Frenchman. Of course, as these characters are both software, these enjoyments could be part of their programming. Nevertheless, they show the human capacity to treat an illusion as if it's real. There's a philosophical term for this phenomenon, namely suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief is the intentional avoidance of skepticism, critical thinking, and logic when facing something unreal, like a work of fiction. For ages, humans have eagerly consumed illusions as entertainment, from cinemas and theater performances to the puppet shows of the past. Likewise, Plato's character can still choose to act as if the silhouettes in the cave are real entities, temporarily suspending his disbelief in exchange for enjoyment and having a good time with his old, unenlightened friends. When it comes to the Matrix, the possibilities regarding the enjoyment of fakery are endless. Unlike the illusionists in Plato's cave, the Matrix produces an illusion that we can consider better than reality. We can see this with today's technology as well. How people can immerse themselves in a video game is almost like they are living a second life, an existence mostly more pleasant and rewarding. But the objects that appear on the screen aren't real, but mere projections. To enjoy them as if they were real, one needs to suspend that truth temporarily. Likewise, characters like Neo and Trinity could delight in the Matrix, perhaps by enjoying a romantic dinner and an evening walk along the river Seine in Paris. Anyhow, humans seem to be able to temporarily accept and appreciate the lie when it suits them. Do we actually want the truth? If asked, most people will probably answer yes to this question. But when exploring Plato's allegory and the Matrix, we discover that the human relationship with truth is not that simple. In some cases, we welcome the truth. In other cases, we hide from it, temporarily suspend it, reject it, and even wish to forget the truth if we had that option. One of the most striking examples is the character Cypher. Both Plato's work and the Matrix show people's disdain for a truth that threatens their reality. We tend to attach to the familiar, the comfortable, the meaningful, and are sometimes willing to defend it with our lives. When it comes to the latter, we just have to look at how people are ready to die for their religions and political ideologies. So again, do we want the truth? The answer seems to be, it depends. We tend to handle the facts selectively, as the truth appears in many different forms, with different magnitudes. Truth can uplift us. It can leave us indifferent, but can also make us depressed and miserable. For example, in Plato's allegory, learning the truth has virtually no downsides. The only downside is the hostility by those in the cave. But aside from that, it's pretty evident that Plato's truth leads to something better and would uplift almost anyone. But in the Matrix, the truth is less enjoyable. However, the effect that truth has on us doesn't necessarily depend on the truth itself. It also depends on the person receiving it. In the case of Neo and Morpheus, the state of the world provided them with meaning and legitimized the battle they were fighting as liberators of humanity, which is quite an incredible goal to have in life. On the other hand, Cypher pokes fun at that goal, which shows his cynicism and lack of meaning he found in his existence. People tend to adopt surrogate truths to cover up a painful reality. By contrast, others love painful realities, but these are often instrumental to their already dark worldview. People from both camps also tend to ignore facts that oppose how they want to see the world. In many, if not most cases, they share their worldviews with like-minded people. Sharing a certain truth, regardless of whether it's true, has benefits. Again, look at the religious groups, political movements, and even the Flat Earth Society. Being part of such groups can provide people with purpose and social connections. In the Matrix, for example, we can see how the belief in the One binds Morpheus and his people together. The downside is that adopting opposing views as a member, even if they were true, could lead to other members ostracizing you. And here's where the dark side of suspension of disbelief comes in. Some, if not many, are willing to turn a blind eye to the truth. Not just for innocent enjoyment, but also out of convenience. For example, someone keeps subscribing to a false belief against one's better judgment just to belong or out of fear of being ostracized. All in all, people seem pretty opportunistic when it comes to the truth. We want a truth, not necessarily the truth. We want a reality, not necessarily the reality. But the truth and the lie often have something in common. They both appear as stories. So could it be that we fundamentally don't want the truth, but a story? A story to believe in, identify with, share with others, dwell on, and, perhaps most importantly, to provide us with a sense of meaning and belonging. Thank you for watching.
Are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in foosball.
You fucking cried after 3 days in the fucking holding tank. Looked like a fucking pile of wet rags at court. You should see how I showed up to court after 3 days in the box with the light on.
Please, is there anything I can do, sir? Please.
Does he look like a bitch? What?
Don't do this to my wife, man. You don't know what you're doing to my family, man.
Does he look like a bitch?
Sir, please don't make me sleep in jail tonight, sir, please. I'm begging.
We're not criminals.
They're gonna make me sleep in jail.
Continue. You were saying something about best intentions?
Josh has never been arrested for recording.
Okay, so that's him getting arrested, and then his friend here makes a phone call that I want to touch on.
Someone's got to be a winner while the rest of you motherfuckers lose in life. I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I know how to stand on the law and uphold it. I know how to make you bitch-ass fucking slaves look like a bunch of fools at court. Silver and gold tongue gorilla. You know the deal. About 150 pathetic, cowardly, gaslighting, projecting, lying slaves showed up to the channel today to comment on a video that was aired on another coward's channel that got 53,000 views today. 53,000 pathetic citizen slaves watched me, and instead of read the headline and accept that we got dismissals, the case numbers are all right here. Go get your buddies. Go get all your buddies. Go get them, Jake and all the rest. Dismissed without prejudice, right? Criminal complaint filed, public safety assessment, advisements of rights read, waiver of counsel filed, notice of hearing, conditional release. That was again dismissed because I didn't follow any of the conditions, nor do I need to. Correspondence entered on the record, that would be by me. And then the weirdest thing happened. Notice of dismissal. Would you guys like the case numbers? Well, I'm going to give it to you anyway because you're all claiming that I'm not giving the case numbers. You don't care about the truth and what's right. You don't care about the law and the difference between legal and lawful. You're not interested in the facts. You're a bunch of projecting, bad faith, dishonorable, gaslighting, lying, cowardly, bitch-ass slaves. And none of you who commented on that video of me and Jennifer today, all day today, are going to come up on this panel and have a conversation with me. I'm doing fellowship. I'm saving souls and doing ministry indirectly. So keep it up. Keep talking about me. Keep promoting me. Definitely don't show up here because you know what you're going to get, right? And just keep letting your little flying monkey audience try to gaslight everybody else that we got no movement, no value, no power, and no knowledge. I'm way more intelligent than the majority of you Dunning-Krueger slaves. This is why we fought a war against you lying, bad faith, ungodly, satanistic, limey scum. Because we were tired of being up under your bitch asses. Imagine someone like me being ruled by someone like you. Get a fucking clue. You fucking beta male whales dwelling coward. 3/4 of you guys from the UK and Europe are a bunch of punk bitch cowards and wouldn't make it 3 seconds on New York where I'm from or in America because of who you are and how you talk and how you live. That case has been dismissed and now they're all getting sued and they wish they wouldn't have done what they did. Why don't you report on that part? Why don't you lying beta male fish and chip cowards report on that part? That guy's angry right there. Angry Uncle Paulie. Greetings. Hello. Hello. Shout out. I gave it in text, but I'm giving it verbally too because they're watching. They always watch, but they don't get in chat anymore and they won't let me up in their area and they ban any accounts that I bring in there. But we seen you because I seen it and I seen like 5 other people seen it. As we like to say on the East Coast, it's not proper grammar. I'm not always using proper grammar. We know that. But we seen you, the ones who matter seen you. You sat there and you fucking indirectly admitted I was right again a year and a half later, but you won't do it directly because you're too fucking punked out and bitched out and prided out. You're too LGBTQ prided out to keep it all the way real with yourselves and others. Ain't that a shame? Ain't it a shame how we can never do community because I talk what I see and I'm right a lot of the time. And in the moment, folks don't like that. They don't like how it feels. So they go, Paulie's bullying. He's a meanie. Everyone get away from Paulie boy. Then go to replicate whatever I do in a watered down fashion and then have to admit indirectly a year and a half later with a third of your chat sitting there going, wait a second. Didn't Paul Unslave say exactly what you are saying now a year and a half ago that you guys shat on him for and made an enemy out of him and ran off to do your own broadcast to try to suck off this audience? But they say I'm narcissistic and egotistical. How is someone so narcissistic and egotistical, so self-aware and aware of others and so right so often? And why does it always take a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years for it to come out in the wash without coming out in the wash? Then you guys sit there like you look like you lost your puppy. You sit there with this dejected look. And then I have to always be the bigger man. And then you guys never even reciprocate. So I emailed John Spazio last night because, you know, I'm the narcissist, egotist, who I don't really care about the truth or anyone else. So they never respond to me. But I said, hey, bro, I checked in on you, and this, as synchronicity would have it, oftentimes when you check in on these people, it doesn't have to be every day, but when you do, something pops out. It's like how this universe works. So it like pops up that them and Rose and all the rest of these clowns are all frauds and agents. They all want attention for all the wrong things. They all want to make a business endeavor out of this without actually standing on nothing. And they all want to do it for the most watered down, weak ass fucking material that goes nowhere and give a bunch of loser failures a place to hang out and feel like they're part of something. By the way, where did you guys, I love this too. John Spazio's fucking alpha, fake ass, false strength persona just went to the wayside. You don't even see it or hear it anymore. You want to talk narcissism and egotism? There's two more of them who embody it more than I do. I'm just confident and faithful in my experience and the truth and what's shown over and over again. What happened to Nacho Keister's reserved, subservient, nice, kind, polite, loving persona? That went right out the window. He's the biggest piece of trash now, cursing people out, calling people out, curating his chat so no one can answer, so he can pretend to be false strength powerful, but not actually engage in a dialogue or an interaction. So it's like amazing. We literally saw one guy change into more like me, what they call me, a bully and a meanie and an egotist and a narcissist for, right? He's now bullying everyone, cursing everyone out, blocking everyone. You know, he's a little tyrant now that he's got a broadcast, you know, never done nothing on the ground, but now that he's got a broadcast, he's like a big boy, you know? And your boy Spazio, who used to be screaming and yelling, cursing everyone out and declaring metaversal war on everyone, well, he's a nice, kind, polite little boy now. See how we do the twists and the turns and the shifting and shaking? Because it's the year of the wood snake. That's what OTW was covering the other day, the year of the wood snake. And oh boy, does that make sense. That's nothing. This is what all these people are, a bunch of wood snakes sitting in the wood pile. They only crawl out to get their little sustenance and then go right back in and set up boundaries for themselves so they never have to be accountable and responsible to the truth, not to me. There's no being accountable to me or this guy or that guy. There's the truth and God, and by proxy yourself. So everyone's watching, everyone's witnessing, not everyone, but the folks who are in this non-munity, who've been here for 3 years and seen all the interactions and the power games and all the Klingon behavior, clinging on to views and numbers and money and chasing it and desperate for it and using everyone's name to clout chase, right? Doing everything and anything other than like seeking truth, embodying that, living that, and presenting some kind of a result for your experience and understanding. So once again, I'm going to move off this because I don't want to give it too much time. Like I said, I know these people watch. I know they check in just like I do. It doesn't matter if they don't answer when I try to communicate with them like men. You know, it doesn't matter if they gray rock and pretend that they're not experiencing, because we know that's how this game works. They can pretend all they want. Doesn't matter how much time goes by. Everyone's doing the same shit. And then there's a few folks who are keeping it somewhat real, if not all the way real. And then there's everyone else just lying, cheating, stealing, pretending, grifting, acting one way and then being something else and acting another way when they go somewhere else. It's just complete fucking nonsense. And it doesn't mean we can't have different aspects of self, right? I have more a reserved, a contrite, sort of at times apologetic in a sense aspect of me for what we're all doing and not doing, right? And then I have more activated self that's going to call it out and question and test and challenge and mix it up, jump out the window, so to speak. That's okay. We can have it all that lives within us, and we can express it all when we feel necessary or when it's appropriate. But again, I just don't understand long term how these males would be okay with themselves. And maybe that's just why we're different. You know, mainly we're different people because there is no scruples. There are no values and principles. There is no care for truth. And I just don't get it at this point. What else do you really think you're going to get out of all these experiences? If not learning and growing and becoming stronger and applying what it is you've experienced to make a change with yourself and others. I guess that's my romantic side, that I keep expecting that from others who, again, have no shame. They're not guilty for anything. They have no scruples. And they readily admit, like Mr. Spazio did, that he sat around for 2 years figuring out how he's going to approach me, try to suck up to me and try to use me. And then when that didn't go how he wanted to, just did a spin-off and act like I don't exist, right? So this is not normal behavior. This is not functional behavior. This is not being real with yourself and others, because we know you folks watch. We know you check in. I admit that I check in on these other characters because they spent so much time with me. And we've had so many interactions that you wind up getting an interest in them and their journey. You wind up getting endeared to them, even if they lie to you, abuse you, cheat, steal, grift, and all the rest of it. I guess what it really comes down who is I care and am more sort of passionate and caring for truth and other people than I'd like to admit, and other people would like to give me credit for. And most of these people just don't give a fuck. They don't care about their own values and principles. They don't even have any. They don't care about their own credibility or reputation. They definitely don't care about what they speak online and whether it's true or not. And by proxy, they don't really give a fuck about anybody else or our experiences together. And that's why you folks are horrible leaders. You're horrible community members. You're horrible panel hosts and content creators, right? You don't create shit. You're not a part of anything. You don't move anybody in any direction or the other. You don't influence in any way. You just get on camera and play through this false persona and lie to a whole bunch of people in hopes that they're going to give you shit and propel you with numbers to the stardom and the fame that you're never going to get, because you can't wield power and value effectively. If you could, you'd be in a different position in your life, whether you have fame and riches or not. You would be in a different position in your life, and you'd be received differently by people who matter. Right. But I know we'll play we'll all of a sudden, right, after we watch 6 months of these folks acting one way and now acting a different way, opposites, we'll pretend everyone's got a voice. We'll just completely change up our persona. We'll bring everyone up, and then we'll use other content creators' names to clout chase. Get some fucking balls on you. This is your daddy now speaking again, because I sent you a Cash App last night to remind you daddy's watching. Daddy sees all. Okay. And if not, God sees all. And if not, the people who matter see all. And no response as always, right? So we're gray rocking Paulie because he's a narcissist, aka he has a standard for accountability, responsibility, and none of us can hit it. So we'll just act like he doesn't exist, check in on him from time to time, get inspired by him and his broadcast, and then use that for our own purposes. But we'll never answer to him or God or the people or the truth. We just block and throw people out. And make up our own narratives, right? Because it makes us cope and feel better. So salute to you. I love being part of this game. I love seeing where it goes long term. I'm playing a long game to some degree. You folks live and work as if you have no conception of tomorrow, right? And it's like at some point you will be reduced. You will not be produced into something. Most of you folks, numbers are not steady. No one's giving you anything because you don't provide value. They're using you, the audience, like you use them for just a place to hang out, and you set no standards. So you're never going to grow together. You're never going to rise to an occasion. Your audience is never going to look at you as leaders or as people inspiring or even entertaining. So at some point you'll be forced, like as is the universal process for all of us, you'll be forced to admit to certain things and stop denying other things, at least to yourself, if not to me, right? To yourself and God, and you'll be forced to make a change. And hopefully, faithfully, by then, it won't be too little too late, right? But see, in my book and many others, once you lie so many times, once you power game so many times, once you deny reality so many times, then once you do what you say other people are doing, which they may be doing, you do the same thing you said was wrong, but for the wrong reasons. There's only so much of that goes on before everyone pretty much, other than the Voldemort Carsons and the other clowns who like to call me a clown, right? There's only so much of that you could do before people finally go, you know what? Unless you extremely change who and what you are and have an extreme change of heart, and even then, you're most likely not credible, right? And therefore, you're not valuable. And therefore, you're going to have to go back to, well, many of you don't work, haven't worked, don't plan on working again, apparently. So I guess that doesn't matter to you, right? I guess like this is, this subconsciously for you is a flash in the pan. It's not a career. Your word again doesn't mean anything. Your credibility is lacking, and you have no true courage. So how could broadcasting and be a public figure and a supposed leader, content creator, influencer, inspiring element for others, how could that ever be a prospect for you? I forgot that we're in a way living two different lives. Whether I want it or not, it became clear what this is and what needs to be done to a certain degree. The content, that can change day to day, but like who I am, how I come into this, what I come in with, and what I'm doing in between, that matters to me. And I guess for you folks, it's a flash in the pan, right? We don't really care. We're going to half-ass it. We're going to lukewarm it. We're going to bullshit everyone. If we can scrape in a few hundred or a few $1,000 over the course of a few years, well, we're a little bit better off, right? And we go back to our pathetic, embarrassing life and lifestyle day to day and hope nobody notices, as long as we block and ban hard enough. So I love you. Daddy loves you. More importantly, Daddy loves the truth. So I'm going to stand for that and on that. It doesn't need to be defended or promoted. It's just part of my value system and principles. And I'm going to once again encourage others on here, right, who, whether they pretend I don't exist or not, I'm going to encourage others on here who will get the message, like we always do, to do and be and have better. The games are over. You don't have to lie to me or yourself or anyone else anymore. You can be all the way real. And we can actually get to something here, right? But I know you don't need me anymore. You already used me in the audience. You got a power base like Slackhot and the others. You got your 400 strong that you can then build into 1.5 thousand. And, you know, you're good to go, right? And you're going to try to come up on some kind of, what's the word? Viral, right? Viral, non-viral, other names you can use and activities like Flat Earth and Rising Earth. So good luck with that. I'm sure that's going to pay off anytime now. I'm sure you won't have to be and do and have better as men, right? Because you could just pretend online, you know, and you'll feel better about that. It's so ridiculous. These are people who come in. It's obvious they don't. I guess they don't see it in themselves the way that I do, or I'm projecting what I want to believe I am onto them. It's so obvious these people have a spirit that calls out for empowerment, inspiration, freedom, and truth. It's so obvious. And when they can't hack it, when their balls and their feelers can't rise to that occasion, they just neglect it and go on with some other endeavor as if we're not going to come full circle. So are you really this inept and inane? Are you really this lacking in self-awareness? Or you're just okay with delaying the inevitable? I get it. You know, I'm guy number one for a lot of this shit I'm talking about for the longest time, so I can speak on it. A lot of folks just totally okay delaying the inevitable and the invariable. Okay, we'll play this game. Like the Tao speaks of, you know, watch the comings and goings, or watch the goings rather of other beings, but contemplate their return. So that's what I do in my life, right? If I think about these people, if I check in on them, if I have a care for them, I watch them like a father does, playing in the streets, trying to get their validation and verification of the world. And I contemplate their return one day, because all things come back to source. And it's not that I'm the ultimate source of whatever, whoever, wherever, whenever, but that thing works through me as it does with them. So that is the return to source, the recognition of true enough, the recognition of what's correct and true and right, the recognition of what we could be doing and having and being versus what we're settling for, right? So that's a testament. That's me bearing witness to my actual care for you, for us, for this non-unity, for the potential that resides in all of us, for what we could do and be and have, right? So if you don't want to recognize that, I still wish you well. I don't wish any bad on you. But oh boy, do you guys give your daddy some hoots and hollers late at night from time to time when I do the rounds and I check in and I see every one of you doing what I was doing that you were claiming is bad and wrong, being ultra hypocritical, desperately chasing some clout and some money and fame. And then, you know, doing that all because you saw something here, right? Because we could go back to the videos where they all said, well, there's something in you. There's something here. You know, we're beneath you. We're under you. And then they go, why doesn't Paulie wants that, but why doesn't he let people stay that way? Because it's embarrassing to you and me. You know, like when Spazio came in and called himself a beta, said how important I am and how I'm going to be something important in broadcasting one day, you know, all the rest of it. I go, bro, why do we have to play this game of it's all about me, it's all about you? Like, is there never a we dynamic that can be achieved with pretty much the majority of folks? Like, if it's not me being the hero, then I have to be the villain and they're going to be the beta hero. You know, instead of just like actual co-creation and acceptance of who and what we are and where we're at on the journey and what the potential is versus what is transpiring, so to speak. All right, I'll move on. I don't want to give the, you know, because these folks, while they ignore and they still watch, they get like excited. They go, Paulie boy talked about us over there today. We're in his mind and heart. And it's like, yeah, I care. I've never denied that. I may not have the best way of showing it if you ask the majority of folks, right? My way of showing that I love and care, or that, like, you know, I'm inspiring or wanting to inspire myself and others, you know, my way of doing like team working is not like most. And I'm interested to hear from folks, right? If there's ever a return with certain folks who are still hanging around listening from time to time, like I check in on others, and they're interested in like giving me an opinion, you know, or asking me questions, I'm willing to revisit that. Matter of fact, I'm one of the few who's always willing to revisit it. And then they'll say, no, he's not, because when we come in, he's going to go off on us at some point. Yeah, that always happens when you guys bullshit yourselves and me and everyone else and think I'm going to go along for the ride. I don't have that much time to waste, right? I rather rant and ramble for hours on end than to waste time playing games with ourselves and each other. So that's why most folks don't return here after a certain point, because they know they can't hack it. Like I said earlier, they can't actually get up here, be real and true and honest with themselves and me, accept where they've accepted less for themselves and the rest of us, and then reconcile and resolve and move forward. They can't get it done. It's easier to just go your own way, create your own channel, lukewarm it, half-ass it, fence ride. And you know what a reason for that is as well? Is I'm going to go ahead and blame the audience. It's not popular. It's not what most content creators would do. And I understand that at times, this is why I'm a cosmic gambler, because I'll give it all up to give it all back, right? I like the idea of calling the audience out. See, it may not be good for me, especially like pocket-wise and all the rest of it, but to me, that's real. So the reason this shit goes on is because, and it could be over here as well, you got a stack of folks who are willing to sit around, watch, wait, and celebrate shit that is not worthy of celebration. And they're all too willing to not call out what needs to be changed, because they're not oriented toward justice, right? So that's why Paulie Boy gets the tag of the bad guy and the meanie and all the rest of it. I love playing the role. But the reason that happens is because the majority of you don't do what I do. You won't go to these places, including here, and call me and everyone else out and really put forth a solid argument about why something is incorrect and needs to change, and use common fucking sense. Do it. You won't do it, right? You don't want to be disliked. You don't want to catch shit and catch heat. You don't want to have to substantiate your argument, right? And you don't want to have to, potentially be on the outs with people. You know, most people, including myself, don't like conflict. Well, that's great. I don't like conflict. I focus on conflict resolution. How does that work? By calling out what we see and what's true and correct, and then addressing that in a group, right? Or individually as a couple, I guess you could say, two or more folks. No, I'm not saying it like that, Spazio and Keister. Watch yourself. But yeah, that's how conflict resolution happens, right? You know, the same thing I can't get with my father, with pretty much about, I'd say 85 or more % of folks who I interact with, doesn't matter how close or far, they all have the same thematics in life, right? You can't be true and honest with them. You can't address what's happened in the past. They can't reconcile and resolve unless you bullshit them and act nice, kind, and polite to them, and then deny your feelings or perspectives. You know, and again, that lives in me as well. I'm just able to go past it. I go, listen, tell me I'm fat. Tell me I got the brown broken tooth with the dead nerve. You know, tell me I'm an albino, whatever, with big lips and big nose. Tell me I live in a trap. Do it all, right? Sometimes I get bored with it. I go, we're going to do the same shit every day, but I almost respect it more than what goes on in the rest of these circles, right? You guys want to sit in a room with someone and look at shit and see it and feel it and not speak on it. I don't live that way. And I can't figure out why the rest of you choose to live that way. What do you get out of that? Again, we're back to you got to become like a child to get in the kingdom of heaven. What does that mean, Paulie Boy? It means if you've ever looked after a child, you'll know children look and see and feel and they speak. They see something, they say something. They don't filter. They don't filter for everybody's feelers, right? So they'll say, like one child I was looking after one time, from the woman I was with's coworkers. That's a whole other story, but she needed people to look after children, and you know, I have a reputation for being, I guess, a good person who cares about the children and is like open to being part of teachable moments. and wanting to like interact and teach them sports and take them to the dollar store and teach them how to count and money and all the rest of it. Like that's what being a father is. So, yeah, this child one time said to me, Paul, why are you so fat? And I had to answer the question. He's learning. He's being real. He's being honest. It doesn't matter if I liked it or not, or how I felt. It's reality. So when he asked me, why are you so fat? It was a teachable moment. I said, well, Junior, this is going to give you some informative power to choose, right? But if you don't eat correctly and you don't exercise enough, with certain, I guess, genetics as well, you will develop belly fat. So that's the answer. It's cause and effect. Nowhere in there in the question and answer period or the teachable moment or just the general experience was a place for my or anyone else's feelers. Now, would everybody around that child tell him, shh, no, Junior, shh, he's not big is beautiful. There's no fat. It doesn't exist. It's not real. Yeah, they'll deny and avoid reality to pander to or to placate my or others' feelers instead of just let the being explore and be honest and real and force accountability and responsibility for me or others. That's a problem. That's the culture. That's why 85% of males are bitch ass motherfuckers to me, and I don't respect them because they're watching and witnessing and experiencing shit all day, every day. And when you ask them to talk about it, they'll deny reality to pander to their and everyone else's feelers. Men don't do that. Children don't do that, and men don't do that. You know who does that? Fake ass bitches who say, ooh, girl, look at you. That dress is sexy. Get it. And then as soon as she walks off, go, that fat ass bitch looks like a fucking clown today. That's all of you folks. And when you're not doing that, you try to pipe up and act like something you're not, like you're in charge and in control and you're about it until you got to stand on something. And then the bitch comes right up out of you. That's where Nacho Keister's at lately. That's where DeCastro's at, right? There's a middle ground to this, oddly enough. Let's move forward. I'm not going to give them too much time. They're going to watch and wait and hate and subconsciously celebrate because they know they need this. I'm filling a form and a function, even if it's just the back channels of YouTube in a non-community where we occupy. There's been dozens of folks who created their own channels and have had these interactions, and they need this truth. You need to check in and be reminded of what it looks and feels like to keep it all the way real and be accountable and responsible and somewhat interesting. Somewhat. This isn't that interesting, by the way. Me talking about, like a lot of them say to me, they go, why do you even mention these clowns? They got little to no viewership. They're poor and they're broke and desperate. They're like charity cases. They're boring as all get out, and they're clout chasers until they get the clout they're looking for, right? They chase clout until they got to stand on something. Then they run the other way. So they're probably right, but I can't help myself at times. Like I said, I do care, and I do speak on what's on my mind and heart, and I do speak on what's fresh in my mind. So when I check in on folks and I see what's happening, I give them the time of day to a degree to let them know I'm still here. I still care. I'm still open to resolution and reconciliation and content creation. But you got to keep it real with yourself and others. And if not, either way, we're all watching. The program's updating. Right? Either way, people are going to get what they need. I have faith in that. The universe is working overtime. Questions, comments, concern? I got to urinate. I've been drinking a lot of water lately. Let's go news. Let's go slave news. Wait, maybe I'll circle back around. I think I'm going to circle back around. All right, I want MAGA then. Give me some MAGA supporters. Why not? Let's see.
6 a.m. and it's bitterly cold. They've been here for hours already, but it's a big day. Worth the early start and the very long queues to see the inauguration, if not in the flesh, then at least on the big screen in Washington's Capital One Arena.
Oh yeah, baby, here we go. At least it's warmer in there, because out here, I don't know if I can do it any longer. Bye-bye, Biden! Bye-bye, Biden!
No tears for Joe Biden in this queue, just exuberance about the Trump-Vance duo.
I think we're going to get a lot more done. He knows a little bit about how to govern. So I think he'll be able to step in here in a couple hours and hit the ground running.
I think that he's going to first first of all, help with the economy. You know, everything is expensive, the housing, the food. Trump is going to come in there and just clean this up.
What are you most excited about for the next 4 years?
Taking it back, baby. You know, we're just back to the basics. Common sense. I had a joke kind of in COVID. I would fly on airplanes and people would ask me, hey, why ain't you got to wear a mask? I said, I got to.
See, this is what I love too. I love this. And then I wonder, like the two I was just talking about, and then the dozens that I speak about who I've interacted with here. Do you guys ever watch when I do this? Or like when you guys play the crowd things, the interviews, do you guys ever notice how you all do what they do? Like, does that ever concern you? Because you'll laugh. You go, ha, look at these dummies. They're supporting Trump. They think it's going to change. Like, you realize that that's the blind spot for humanity, right? Like, that's humanity's blind spot in the human condition is the majority of folks will always support what they want to be true and ignore reality, right? So just try to step back. Everyone out there in the sound of my voice, try to step back from time to time. I do the same and see, is what you're saying or what you're speaking about or what you're supporting what you want to be true, or are you speaking actual truth on what it seems to be or what historically is shown or what the probability indicates? Just a good exercise, I would think.
A condition called CS. It's called common sense.
Trump's
Right, 'cause
promising
you
a
have that.
common sense revolution. But what does that even mean? Is it anti-wokeness? Is it anti...
100%. Woke should never be, it's pointless.
Guys, take your headgear off, man. Take your hoodie off, please. It's not your hat, please. Take your headgear off.
Feels like this stadium has a bottomless capacity. People have been pouring in for hours, but it is 20,000. That's how many it can seat. And there are a lot more people than that still trying to get in. So I think we will see a lot of disappointed Trump supporters. And a lot of Trump supporters who've had to throw away a lot of their possessions. Security is very tight, so they're literally leaving their bags at the door. Moving around is hard. Washington is all but locked down. There are barriers everywhere and heavy.
Wait, so let me get this straight. You guys are claiming this is about rights and freedom and republicanism and conservatism and common sense while getting searched and having to leave your property at the door because safety. You're doing it again. Everywhere you look, they're replicating and reflecting. You can't look anywhere and not see a replication reflection of self. It's fascinating what this place is. So there's your common, non-common sense. That's the one sense that everyone doesn't have. That should be more common. That's not. Is the ability to see self as self and realize everywhere you look is a reflection of self to some degree. So where's your common sense at when it comes to rights, freedom, principles, spiritual faith? If you're being searched at the door to a MAGA event, having to leave your property behind because it might be unsafe. Isn't that okay? I'm not even going to ask. I'm not even going to ask because they're not seeing, they're not hearing. It's not happening. I'm imagining.
Security. But at least there are other options. We find a spot in the Hard Rock Cafe, packed with the MAGA faithful. All waiting for the moment when their guy gets sworn in.
Yeah, daddy! U.S. slave, U.S. slave, U.S. slave, U.S. slave.
I will very simply put...
Man, don't you wish we could go back to the golden era of unslavia? I know Aluma Tranny and others do, right? They long for the golden era before they pissed and shit all over it. It became the golden and bronze era because they pissed and shit all over everything because they were unthankful and grateful. Now they just troll around Vegas and other places talking about how great it used to be and pining away. Don't you wish we could go back to the days before everyone abused their privileges and benefits on panel, acting like a bunch of retards and needy wannabes, desperate to suck off me and use me in the audience? Don't you wish we could go back to before everyone showed who and what they really were? You know, back to where we used to get a panel full of slaves or wannabe free men or somewhat free men, if not free men in general, right? And do the U.S. slave chant. By the way, shout out to Scott B, who's down there, a regular, as well as Michael Sino. He's come back around again, which of course we know is the Moose Creature for those of you who've been here for a while. A lot of inside baseballs today. Shout out to Moose. And Scott and Moonbags for the last couple days contribution. Yeah, those were the days. We used to bring everyone up, put up a picture of Donnie Chimp, and do a U.S. slave chant, right? It felt good. It felt better than whatever this is. But I guess I'll have to take this. This is my runner-up option.
America first.
Drill, baby, drill. Got some of the biggest cheers, no matter about the climate.
Yeah.
Also, Elon Musk has a lot of fans in this gathering. We'll just go and find out why.
If you saw the gas prices, literally you'd be out there with them drilling.
What about Elon Musk? Why does he get such a cheer?
Dude's really smart. Dude's really smart. And you know what? We should be honoring.
No, he's not. That's the thing. See, you are really dumb. And I respect you for this because there's a lot of other dumb people around here and other places who think that they're smart and they're not. They're really not that intelligent, but you're just really fucking stupid. So you meet someone who has like money and false power and you think they're like a genius because they have cartoons of them like landing rockets and cartoons of them in space with a convertible. You're just really fucking retarded is what's happening. It's the same thing like me. They go, Paulie's got a superiority complex. He thinks he's so smart. I'm highly intelligent compared to how retarded the average person is, which isn't saying much, by the way. You know, if we had a sliding scale that went far enough back, you know, or to a certain aspect of humanity, I'm a dunce compared to those folks. All right. So it's like the modern day man is just so fucking inept and inane and incompetent and incapable and can't even put 5 words together in a sentence that I may as well be God on earth. That's not a metric for how intelligent I am. That's a metric for how fucked this race is, you know, on the collective scale. So let's just get that in proper proportion. Did Moose's balls drop? Well, we can only hope. One can only hope. It's so easy to pimp these idiots, right? That's what you really have going on here. It's not that Elon's so smart. It's that you're so soul broken and hoed out that you never met an inauthentic corporate male who had some money and things you didn't want to suck up to and be a part of the club with. It's just that easy. You know, the same way that a pimp walks around with flashy clothes and has a BMW and all the rest of it, a Rolls Royce, you know, and throws a fucking chain on. They could live in a slum apartment, but they'll go get a chain and a Bentley and ride around town and convince you soul broken hoes to jump on the team, at least for a little while, to get them some money and power. It's just that fucking easy. Why do you think most of these content creators do what they do? They get a look at me, what I'm doing, and then they get a look at the political sphere, and they go, well, we're never going to do what Paulie Boy does and get it the long way and the hard way. But what we can do is try to find a middle ground where we pretend we're going to do something and be a part of something and call it a community, even though we're not communing with higher self, and just bullshit this audience that we're the man and we're doing something and we got value. And you know what? Predominantly, majority of the time, it works to some degree. It really does. So you can't hate on them. They just look around and go, how am I going to survive and how am I going to make a living or how am I going to get to something here? Well, I'm not going to pursue authenticity, responsibility, and accountability. So I'll just bullshit because everyone else in the world has money and false power. Seems to work for them. And there's your downfall, right? Do you really want to be like them and be with them? I don't think you do at the core of your beingness, but maybe I'm projecting again. Maybe you really do. You want to be with Donnie and Elon and all these people you don't really like or respect. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you're okay with that. I'm not okay with that. I guess I have some egotistical, arrogant standard for myself and those around me. I don't like money, power, all the rest of it. I don't like being with people I don't like and respect. I can't stomach it. For any kind of benefits and privileges in and of the world. So I must be projecting again. You know, given the chance, most of these folks who host channels and create content would suck up to anyone and sit next to anyone in order to get some false power and value. And that's just not me. I guess that's the difference between us. Let's go to Billy Gates and Warren Buffett again, because this is just, it's going to remain one of my favorite bit-non bits. I don't think anything's ever going to replace it. Billy and Warren out and about on the town. You know, there's nothing like that, as I've said many times before, to get me kind of inspired and in a good mood and uplifted, entertained. It's kind of a catch-all. I mean, right off the bat, are you feeling that?
this is my kind of place. I think it's a lot of fun when you can have a product like a See's candy or whatever. You really love the product itself. I just like to eat, and especially candy. When I was 6, we're talking 1936 now, I got a nickel a week allowance, and we would go up to Ernie's drugstore. There they would have penny candy, so the nickel would entitle me to 5 choices, and I could spend an hour making those choices.
Peanut brittle is my favorite.
Well, I like the peanut brittle a lot, and there's no way to stop once you start eating peanut brittle.
Oh, Cracker Jack's prize.
Yeah, they have a prize in every box. Yeah, Cracker Jack.
And that's one of those things where they managed to get the salt and the sugar mix where you just keep eating because it's salty and sugary.
Yeah, I got addicted to these kind of things. And Whoppers I love. I mean, I can eat those. And Milk Duds. Milk Duds wheat is good.
How about dark chocolate? What do you think of that?
Well, I like almost everything. just offer it to me and find out. This is unbelievable.
I claim to be pretty good at pinball.
I bought a machine for $25 in 1946. Built a small empire out of it. It was the best business I was ever in. I peaked very early in my business career. It's been all downhill ever since.
So this article is the start of the personal computing industry. This really cheap kid computer appeared on the cover of this magazine. And we saw it in December 74. And then Paul was saying, okay, you've got to drop out. We've got to start Microsoft. This is going to happen without us. And in fact, this company who made this, they became our first customer.
That is something that I'd heard the story, but I've never seen the magazine before. And frankly, if I read it, I wouldn't have known what to do with it. This is a book that first came out in 1949, The Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham. When I read this book, it changed my life. Anytime the market takes a sharp dive and you get tempted to sell or something, just pull out this book and reread it.
Warren made his first trip to Hawaii when I got married, and Melinda's gift to me was that she had Willie Nelson come and sing the night before the wedding. So this is got special history for me.
When I was a kid, the big thing to do was listen to Your Hit Parade, presented by Lucky Strike. Be Happy Go Lucky, and they would start with number 10 to work their way up to number 1. And Glenn Miller was probably number 1. There's a Glenn Miller.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I can probably hum any one of those songs on there. Dum 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 dum.
You're so sweet.
I'll take the whole place. Let's just get it all.
Yeah, that feels good, huh? 2 nice, sweet old men hanging out at the candy store. It's nothing weird or creepy going on. All right. Speaking of weird and creepy, apparently there's a leaked Diddy phone call. Check into this to determine, keep me honest here, if this is just real or not. But we got a leaked Diddy call, apparently telling his son, what's up with the pizza boxes? Can you get rid of all of them? Here's where Snafu, the slave, comes in, right? Because it's kind of weird, some might say. Diddy on a phone to his son from jail asking, what's up with the pizza boxes? Can you get rid of all of them? And don't talk to anyone. So that's old. Well, it's new for me. It's like an old joke, right? It's not old if it's the first time you hear it. So, what's the date on this? I'm curious. Oh, yeah, it is from a couple months ago. Well, I never saw it and heard it. So, we're going to play it because pedo pogo activity. Mike Stratton. Zebras, the whole thing. Truthio, crew.
Do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over for the pizza. All the boxes. Okay. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah. Did Jay reach out yet? Nah, Bob. He ghosting. This motherfucker doing? These things sweet now because I'm in here. This is all good. You about to get out on bail. No. Hey, yo, check this out. Need you to reach out to the producer. Let these motherfuckers know there's a release date for that new Netflix movie. Alright, Pop. It's fucking crazy right now. Everybody out there quiet as a motherfucker, huh? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We gonna let them have their little fun, but I'm still gonna have the last laugh. What about all these lawsuits, though, Pop? Ain't none of them getting shit. I ain't worth nothing. Ain't got shit in my name anyway. Don't even worry about it. Bunch of money hungry bitches and shit.
If you like truthful news and wonderful facts, subscribe to Plux News.
I don't know. Is that AI? Is that real? Anyone check in on that? All right, let's go copping out. And then we'll do a little bit of courting here. And then I'm going to finish off with some Carl Lentz because we never picked up on that. I want to continue with that series. That's probably some of the most important and interesting information to me that I think can apply to everyone else here. And, you know, there's no amount of repetition when it comes to that stuff that I think is necessarily too much, right? You can never have too much repetition when it comes to the lawful situation and courting and getting down sort of an understanding and a rap. We're out of the algorithm today anyway. You know, take the pressure off. We're in route. All right, let's see what we got. This is silent audit, I think.
Here come this guy. I'm not gonna say nothing to him. See what he got to say.
Hi there. Can I help you? Can I help you, buddy? Guess not. All right. No. Okay.
Yeah, so we did get the guys walking up, seeing if they can help me. And they did what was smart and walked away. She's telling on me.
I said he was filming through the window that he stuck back earlier on game.
She said that I was filming on the other side of the building through the windows when she pulled up. That's what she was saying to me. She went the other way. All right, Kansas City. So here we go. We not gonna say nothing. Let's see how you handle this.
Hello, sir. How are you? They're trying to conduct business on the ATM and they don't feel comfortable with you standing here with your camera. Well, this is a fun conversation. So the bank's trying to service their ATM. And like I said, they just don't feel comfortable with you standing here with your camera. Oh, we won't talk. I've explained to him why we're here. He keeps looking around like there's supposed to be a service truck or something, I think. But
Well, they want you on the bank property, so you can stay on the sidewalk, but stay off the bank property. You understand that? Okay. All right. Well, stay off the bank property. You'll be arrested. You're good on the sidewalk. Have a good day.
So yes, you guys, we're definitely gonna hang around. We don't want to give them any inquiry that they ran us off. And yeah, my bad. I don't think they handled it too bad. It took I don't know if he was a sergeant. Their stripes and stuff look different. It took a sergeant to come and tell him that nothing we can do. So, hey, I did my second one. Second silent. Oh yeah, can't see. Let's see if we can get these officers. I don't know. They definitely hanging around. Want to see what's going on. And we're gonna stay right here with them. Right here with them. We definitely moving around. Hey y'all, coming up March, April, we hitting the road, y'all. I definitely want to try to ask to let me know where y'all want me to go. So, but I'm a ways away. Oh, so he went inside the bank. Great. We definitely gonna let them drive off. We definitely gonna let them drive off. So, all right, not bad. All right. I think the second officer, I think he gets it. I really think the second officer gets it. This guy right here, I think he's a little upset. He's really upset that I wasn't talking. And he seemed like, I know we're gonna see him again. So let's see how he handled the second call. Definitely gonna hang around. Don't wanna get him any type of inquiry. All right, Kansas City. So if y'all love the content, y'all wanna keep pushing me out to shoot y'all great content, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Let's go courting, and then I'm going to hit car lengths. I'm going to play the background. If you got questions, comments, concerns, you want to present something, the link is down there. If it's not clickable, it's in the description. If not, we're going to coast on through. Fleischer, everybody's favorite pimper and macker. I'll speak for me. Definitely my favorite slave driver as of recent. Judge Fleischer exposes more bad police work. Man, Fleischer's been on a tear the last couple months. He must be getting word. Like I always like have so much faith that I and others are making change that then I presume when I see the change seeming to come about that I'm like part of it, either directly or indirectly. When I say indirectly, I mean like part of the quantum field. Like they may not know me, they may not watch me, but I'm still part of the change because other folks are bringing this stuff to them. The energy, the universe is bringing it to their table, and it's forcing a change one way or the other. Maybe I just want to feel like I'm a part of something, and I'm projecting a bit again. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. I and others talking about Fleischer and the legal lawful courting scenario for so long have started to make a change where they're less likely to just steamroll folks at court and maybe potentially be open to the facts and what the foundation of the law of the land is. Maybe, potentially, possibly. I'm saying it's happening.
Any questions?
Yes, Judge.
I don't even know where to start.
The last one you order is Mr. Francisco Zelle. He's a president judge, and I wanted to touch on law conferences.
Is that C or an S?
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Cerda. You were charged with engaging in organized criminal activity. You are facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you.
Yes, Judge. On January 21st, 2025, the officer was dispatched to a residence in Harris County, Texas. In the call notes from dispatch state, the reportee says an unknown party stole her neighbor's U-Haul trailer. Subjects were seen headed towards Pasadena Boulevard. The driver was a skinny, tall male, and the reportee lives on Buchanan Street and has camera footage of it happening. A witness stated he observed individuals taking the neighbor's U-Haul. The officers located the U-Haul and a felony stop was conducted. Defendant Hentoja was observed unloading items from the U-Haul, ran to the back of the residence, and prevented officers from arresting him. Defendants Lopez and Cerda remained in the U-Haul, and the complainant stated the value of the trailer was $1,800 and dirt on the trailer was $300.
I have so many questions.
Yes, Judge.
I don't even know where to start.
My concern is, if you may, I want to just create some, some points of argument to the court's attention. The first one, my concern is that, the 911 caller mentioned unknown parties, and then the police officer later mentions them as suspects without any type of articulable facts, believe that they are the specific people or the individuals that have taken this U-Haul. Now, as we know, probable cause requires more than a hunch, more than suspicion. It requires something else, more than that. And that seems that that's all that the things, at least under the four corners of the things, allege that my client was involved with this alleged act.
Remember, so when they start an investigation, sometimes they just don't have everything and facts develop in time.
Right.
Here, we have a call that Several people have stolen a U-Haul.
Yes, Judge.
And they've given a description of a tall, lanky person, right?
Yes, Judge. And respectfully, we defer to the court because all it says in the DIMS is that the defendant Serta remained in the U-Haul. There's no further information regarding Serta.
Where was he in the U-Haul? Was he in the actual U-Haul? Was he in the truck that was driving the U-Haul? How was he engaged in this alleged criminality? Like,
and Your Honor,
can you just, does mere presence impute criminality?
Judge, and that's exactly right. Texas law says that mere presence is not enough.
Dude, I'm with you.
Oh, yes, sir.
But so
we're not arguing against that, Your Honor. And like I said, we defer to the court because we don't have that information. We'd have to await the OR, and we don't have that at this time.
Oh, but I'm not going to sit here and hold
Judge.
someone.
And that's why we defer to the court.
Let's look at what the statute says, because, you know. $7102.
We're now interpreting a codified aspect of law. We're now gonna interpret some other man's written down codification of the law. And these people think this is what the actual law and what actual court is.
No, magistrate. There's no information gives for this defendant at all, and we have no OR. So just that's the refile. Yes, that's great.
You're gonna bring in. This is where you just fucking you fire this clown, or you never take him to begin with, and you just ask him, "Are you gonna bring in the man that wrote that code and have him testify to what his intention was and how it applies to me? Because if not, you're just claiming it applies to me and everyone else, and you're gonna interpret what the man's intention was and what he means by that code he wrote that doesn't apply to me. What is this? What world are we in? And this is just all day, every day, what they think law is. Where's the third party impartial witness? Where's the claimant? Where's the corpus delicti? Where's the body of evidence or fact that a crime's taking place? We have probable cause.
Participate in any combination,
Probably
or
slavery.
in the profits of a combination, or as a member of a criminal street gang, the person commits or conspires to commit one or more of the following.
That's you.
One is murder, capital murder, arson, yada, yada, yada. Two, any gambling offense punishable by a Class A misdemeanor. Promotion of prostitution. Number four, unlawful manufacture, transportation, firearms. Which one are you relying on?
Your Honor, as it's pled, is that it's pled as theft as being the underlying basis of the engaging in criminal activity. And right now, Kelsey is looking at the case. We may very well dismiss this because of the insufficient evidence in the information in the DIMS, but right now, Chief is looking at it.
And Your Honor, if we could just maybe reset it for a week or so, we call the witness.
He's in custody, and I can't. I mean, if he was on bond, that would be one thing, but he's in custody. I'm not going to hold him just because, and the compounding it, Casey, is that he's got an ice hold, so I can't give him a PR bond,
Are they going to be a four? I just need a little more time on it to dismiss it right now.
Yeah, I'll find no PC because I just don't think it's there for now. And then if you find something later on, by all means, but all right, Mr. Sird, I'm going to find that there's no probable cause to go forward in your case. Just, Mr. Serta, be careful who you hang out with, Okay. All right, for sure.
I love that. Excuse me. I love that Yeah, I'm allergic to slavery. I love that organized criminal activity carries a similar, if not the same, time in jail as traveling without a license, right? Like 6 months to a year, they were at least that they were looking at with me over and over again for supposed organized criminal activity. All right, let's go. I got more Fleischer here. I guess we'll go the woman from Kansas who looks like both the two fat ladies put together. If you remember it was a show. Used to be on public cable television called Two Fat Ladies, and it was actually two fat ladies who would just cook and eat shit. Anyone remember this?
Grab that crab, Clarissa. Eat that meat, Jennifer. Why doesn't that feather look pleasant?
But it doesn't show them. Doesn't show them. That's the intro, but I wanted to show them because this woman, this judge, non-judge, looks like both of these women put together. And I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating either. All right, let's go to her because she's a piece of work, this one. Judge literally ignores sovereign citizen and he loses it at court. It says in court, but it's at court. I mean, who cares, right? These words don't matter.
I would please like to have that question answered. Let me ask first, are we on the record? Is there a court reporter present? Phyllis K. Webster, will you please recite your oath of office into the court of record then today?
All right, guys. Today we've got a not so smart sovereign citizen on deck.
All right, come on. We get it, Beta. And Beta Male needs to give an intro and put a picture of himself up so we know that he's here. We got it. You love slavery. You love code and policy running everyone. Anybody who attempts at all to try to uphold the law or exercise their rights is a dunce, is a dummy. They're just not as much of a man as you. They're so stupid. We got that. You guys are all the same. You look the same. You talk the same. You act the same. You vote the same. You live the same. I'm guessing you fuck the same. I've never seen it or been involved in it, but I've talked to the women and they concur. They've confirmed that.
Okay, we are back on the record in 2023 TR 2777, State of Kansas versus Anthony Edward DeBoos with Jared Regier for the state.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. State of Kansas, please take the bench for prosecution or for questioning.
With standby counsel Darren Patterson. Stand by because my prior contacts with Mr. DeBoos led
Or
me
not
to
the
believe
bench, the
that
stand rather, if I said the
even though he
bench.
wants to represent himself, there's much about the legal system that he doesn't know or understand and would need the benefit or would certainly benefit, period, from Mr. Patterson's representation.
Totally.
So, Mr. DeBoos, at this time, you want to talk to Mr. Patterson? And
This is like equivalent to like you're on a slave plantation and they go, now, Mr. Slave, we're going to call you Mr. Slave now for the proceedings. Mr. Slave here doesn't really know too much about slavery, so he would benefit from a house slave advocating and representing for him, right? And it's like, no, I don't actually need the slave who's like closest to the master inside the house to talk to me or for me about rights and freedom and like what's in my heart. This is pretty simple, and I can also use common sense. So like this is the logic, that, hey, you're just a lowly slave. You don't know like the workings like behind the scenes or from like the porch of how to be slave master and be part of the society. So we're going to get you one of these house slaves who knows all about it, and they can kind of advocate for you as if they don't have some benefit, privilege, or conflicting interest as an actor of a supposed state of corporation. I'll never stop being fascinated and entertained by this pimp game Mac rap.
And take advantage of his knowledge and experience in the legal system concerning this no driver's license charge, registration, and insurance violations.
Let me ask first, are we on the record? Is there a court reporter present?
Is there a court reporter present? This hearing is live. It is being recorded. Is someone sitting here with their little fingers clicking across the keyboard? No.
Isn't that a
So you're saying
stenographer?
that this is not currently a court of record?
This is a court of record because this is being recorded.
No, that's not. See, this is what they do. This is why it's this perfect simulation. Julian, I see. I'll bring you in a minute. You have to specify, because they'll double talk you. A court of record has multiple aspects that define it. It has the power to fine or imprison. It's not appealable. The process is also being recorded, and the most important part of a court of record is it proceeds under the common law. So if you ask, is this a court of record, they're going to play dumb, and they don't have to act too much to play dumb, by the way. But they're going to act like they don't know what you're asking and what you're talking about, that they've been taught, that's on record with their websites and all of their policies. So, yes, it's a court of record. Don't waste our time here. It's being recorded. There's 3 to 4 at least other elements. Most importantly, proceeds under the common law. That means when you say state of Kansas versus Jim Jones, you have to bring the state of Kansas, Mr. and Mrs., into the court and have them face the accused. Right? This is we loop the same thing over and over, and it never changes, and so you get it through your head, right? Repetition is the cornerstone of perfecting the understanding. Practice makes perfect. So don't let them pimp game you because they're great at it. That's what these people are. They're experts at bullshitting on the fly and double talking and lying and making it seem like you're an idiot for asking a question or answering a question and answering it in a way that obfuscates and deflects from what that answer is supposed to provide informationally. This is what aspects of the court are. This is what inauthentic corporate beta males and females are, right? It's what they do. It's all they do.
Subject to transcription at any time.
Okay. I would ask for a copy of that transcription.
Well, when you file a written motion and pay the transcription fee, sir, that will be arranged.
Okay. And Phyllis K. Webster, will you please recite your oath of office into the court of record then today?
No, sir, I will not.
Why are you refusing to do so?
Let's move along.
I would please like to have that question answered. On another note, I am appearing specially, not generally, under threat of duress and further coercion by the state of Kansas Corporation.
No, I think this guy is appearing specially because he's sounding like he's a little bit on the special side.
That's you. Okay. If this guy, I can't get through this. If this beta male is going to stop it every 5 seconds to give what he thinks is a witty commentary on the events, I can't. I might have to bring Julian in, and then I'll talk to him, and then 5 minutes in, you'll forget, along with the rest of us, that I was even playing that. Julian, I don't know what just happened. I can't do the whole the retard's going to call everyone else retarded. We've done that too much here, and I'm so tired of that. It's maybe the guy's a little special because he's daring to try, and terribly, by the way, to practice law, or practice upholding the rule of law, as they all like to say, without understanding what the fuck they're saying. So there's policy, statute, and code given the force of law to the consent of the government, and then there's the rule of law, which is inherent to creation. It's like don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't murder, don't do fraud, don't grift. The rule of law that the majority of citizen slaves have completely neglected, presuming they ever understood it, or attempted to apply it. Julian, your thoughts? And by the way, if anyone else down there, Freeman and others, if you got like any kind of results one way or the other with the court process, you better be getting up here to talk about it in the sense of we're invested, right? And by we, it's the royal we, it's me. I've invested time, energy, attention with you folks. I've given you all I got. And I'm interested, if nothing else, to learn how things are turning out with you folks so we can update the program if necessary, or to validate the validity and authenticate the authenticity and certify the certification of what's been going on here and other places. Your thoughts on any of that, Julian? Your own thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I can't claim to be like doing much better than the gentleman we were just seeing on that screen. But that comes with, developing your comprehension of all of it and really stepping into it. I think one of the biggest issues I had in my experience was the clear lack of confidence. They sensed that immediately. You know what I mean? Because where I should have just been confidently saying, you don't have any authority or jurisdiction over this matter, that's partially what the judge was kind of trying to point out to me in the, side-handed way. But again, awesome experience, I think, regardless. I kind of had to take the L, but it's only going to make me better from it. I did actually.
In order to learn how to win, you got to learn how to lose, right? And that's pretty much where you're at on the journey. But yeah, you're absolutely on it as far as, again, I go back to the tongue-in-cheek idea, pimping and hoeing. The cornerstone of pimping and hoeing is you just throw something at a bitch, and based on what she throws back, you know where she's at in the process. Right. And I don't mean to say it like that, but I'm going to say it like that to trigger and kind of point out how they look at it. They go, oh, this bitch is going to try to challenge my authority and my pimping. Well, watch this. I'm going to throw 2-3 things at you. And based on what you give me back, I already know where you're at. And again, energetically is a big part of it, right? It just is.
Yeah, there's really no other way you can put it. It's that plain and simple, right? But I was curious because in my case, they only had like what most people say are secondary charges for resisting and obstructing. The third party impartial witness clearly wouldn't exist. Nobody on either side of that, the officer who arrested me or the prosecutor who was prosecuting me, was impartial at all, right? But what they were trying to, I guess essentially what they did get me for was, since I'm in a stop and identify state, I was just curious about your thoughts about stuff like that. When they insist that they have the authority to just stop and have you identify with them, like
they'll insist in their world with the code that they've written up to stack the deck and to obfuscate from your natural rights and the law of the land, that they have a right to do anything that they want to do for public safety. So if they thought that they could get it done, which at some point they may be able to, they'd come in your bedroom and regulate your sexual activity. So at some point, you got to use common sense to uphold the common law and say, yeah, it doesn't really matter to me what you're saying. Like, this is why I told Slow State one day what I did. Because he goes, let's argue the technicalities illegal and lawful. I go, I could, and I have, and I've got results. I'd rather not. How about this? Does this work for you? I'm going to do whatever I want, regardless of the outcome and the consequences. What say you? What do you understand or not understand about that? At some point, you got to draw your line in the sand based on your conviction and what you believe is true and what's right. I don't give a fuck what bullshit game that they wrote up and wrote the rules for and want to apply it to me. Well, go ahead and do it then, because I'm out. I don't want to play no more. This is nonsense. I'm done. Everyone has to decide inside of them where that line is. You don't even have to substantiate that it's real and true in their world with their codes. It's real and true in your world for you and how you live. And that's good enough for me. As a man or a woman, our word is good as gold. What we believe or understand is as good as gold, especially to a public servant. If I'm not causing any loss, injury, and harm, and there's no man or woman on the other side claiming anything, and you're doing constructive fraud, some might say, I don't give a fuck about the game or the rules or the rest of it. I'm done playing. I'm out. I'm going to do what I want to do, and you guys are going to do the same. So let's get to it. And I just really do believe that a process of more and more people doing that and saying that is going to change the way this thing functions. They're not going to keep putting people. First of all, they haven't put anyone from on here in jail yet, as far as I know. There's maybe one guy who got put in jail. Well, I'm lying, I guess, indirectly. I'm not actively lying, but I'd have to think about it and go over it. Out of the dozens and 50 and 100 people that I've interacted with here and in private, there's like a handful of folks who went to jail because they pretty much did everything they could to ignore what I've been saying and doing and others, and did a whole bunch of extra shit that not only doesn't matter, starts to piss these people off. So, yeah, I'm not claiming that there's not a reality here where they're going to do whatever they want and potentially put you in a box. How do you combat that or change that other than having equal, if not more, conviction and will to say, if I have to, I'm going to go to the box over and over again to put on record the law of this land and the fact that I have rights. You saying I don't and walking me to a box doesn't change that I do, and you're trying to overwrite that. And if we all let them, they will. They've proven that. So this is usually in history where folks picked up guns and put it in people's faces. I'm not saying to even do that. But historically, we're way past that point where folks would have just said, you know what? I'm giving you notice right now. If you try to interfere with my rights and freedom and property, I'm gunning at you every time I see you. Just like they do on a street corner on 63rd and 64th in Chicago. When I see you, it's on. So don't let me catch you slipping. I'm not saying people should have that attitude at all. I don't, and I wouldn't advise anyone do anything I don't do. But historically, that's where we're at. So if we're deciding we're not going to go to war and we're not going to become what we say we hate or don't like or don't respect, then we're going to have to stand on the word. The pen is mightier than the sword. We're going to have to stand on trust, equity, and faith. We're going to have to stand on courage and bravery and sacrifice. We're going to have to then surrender that God's going to move in our favor. You don't have anything else at this point other than the rest of your life being a slave and hoping they don't tell you what to do more and more and more till it becomes so fucking humiliating you'd rather not live. That's just my experience. I guess others can tell me theirs, but I'm not really that much interested because I got to live as me while I'm here, whatever that means.
Yeah, man, it really does just go to show how docile this populace has become. It's just fucking wild. But yeah, because like when I asked like you know, is there going to be anybody who's going to be presenting there that's claiming I've done wrong to them or anything, they referred to the cop as that, right? And I was like, well, clearly you're just like giving me the fucking runaround. How are you going to sit there and claim that's third party and impartial? It's just whatever. I mean, I still take the L as a win for what it's worth. And now next time, I just know how to stand a little bit better and stronger in my conviction and let them really feel it as well. Not being disrespectful, not being belligerent or combative, but just letting them know, hey, you guys are clearly the ones in the wrong here. Let's keep playing this game and see who ultimately pays the price. I don't have to lift a fucking finger. You know what I'm
and
saying?
Now you got a foot in the door. You got a foot in the door with that administrator and his buddies. If they see you back in that court, you can appeal in a sense indirectly. I don't mean appeal like court process. You can appeal to his good sense and good nature. I don't care if you got to write him. I tell people, use the private because they're going to put it on public record anyway. And if you're not doing nothing wrong, then it don't matter. But write a letter. If you wind up back at that court, write a letter to that administrator. Say, listen, I really appreciated what you taught me last time I was there, directly or indirectly. And I'm just letting you know that I'm on the docket with such and such. If you think that another slave master, wannabe slave master is going to fry you, you start appealing to the process and the procedure and the experience you've already had. Because again, who you know goes a long way, and whether it should be that way or not. So if that person becomes aware, hey, this is Julian, we kind of like him. He's not trying to overthrow our situation. He just wants to practice to uphold the rule of law. And on some level, we need him. Oh, he's in such and such court. Let me put a word in, right? You got to work. You got to work the system without working the system as a man or a woman with other men and women, you know? So that's just how I look at it. And it's been good to me at times because when I get a foot in the door in any building or any place, I just go, hey, listen, I was talking to this guy and he said, this is what it is. And you got an argument with him now, right? You don't have a problem with me. You got a problem with him, apparently. I just turn it back on them. You know, same thing like when I went to that court. I got the guy who ran the court, one of the cops there who's been working there for 20 years under my thumb, in a sense. Not working for me, but working for God in trust through me. You know, so he said, well, next time you come back here, we're not only not going to do this, but these people are going to serve you the way they're supposed to. And I said, well, thank you. That's all I'm looking for here. Stop treating me and others like a fucking slave. You should be embarrassed and humiliated by doing that. We're on America. There's a law of this land. You should not be okay with acting like this and having to go around you. Right. So that's our position. Our position, if you're going to do this, is to inspire others to lead by being inspired and leading. And then they're going to take notice of you, and you're going to get some credibility with them if you do everything as you're supposed to do it. And they're going to take an interest in you. And when they see you at that building or at that court, they're not only not going to talk to you like the rest of the slaves, they're going to start treating the rest of the slaves with some respect, because you are a man, if not of the people, for the people. That's how this gets done. When they see 10,000 slaves walk in there every day who act like a bunch of bitches, it's that much easier to dehumanize them and go along to get along. When you look them in the eye and you stand on something and you make them feel it, you make them question. And that is a foot in the door to potentially changing how all this shit works. But we don't live like that. When we lack self-esteem and self-worth and self-value and a long game perspective, we think we don't have a voice. We don't have no power. We ain't going to get nothing done. May as well just go along to get along. That's what everyone before and after you says. And that's why this shit doesn't change. And even if there's ones on the inside of the court who want this shit to change, they're dying and waiting for somebody to pipe up and to bring an example that they can actually ride with. They're waiting for man and woman to show up in a proper form so they can serve. If you don't want to show up in that form, or you're not going to show up in that form, they're going to slave you. That's the dual jurisdiction. They're going to slave the ones who show up as slaves, the ones who show up for themselves and others in the truth and God. They're going to learn to serve.
Yeah, because there's no respect or honor. Just trying to fucking go along to get along, just so, oh, I hope they go easier on me this time. Like, and that's what I felt the most in that venue. You know, was like the prosecutor was talking about the respect he had for me, ironically, as he's trying to, you know, prosecute me. But I'll bet you that he's had few, if any, other people that he's talked about like that he's trying to prosecute. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just thought it was funny. Just kind of wanted to touch on that third-party impartial when it comes to something like stop and identify state, because you're driving on the state's property. Like, who the fuck do you think the state is? Some separate entity than the people that it was created by? You fucking nerds. It's just like,
well, yeah, actually it is. And that's the point, is they created a bunch of subsidiary corporations to the original corporation and claim that's the land, while it's not actually the land and the people. The people is that guy over there. The person, a mass square in Latin, acting as a state actor or a participant in this corporate endeavor, an administrative court. So yeah, they do. That's why when you stop the cop and say, who's the people? Who do you work for? They say, not you. Because it is a semi-private corporation. It is attempting to use policy and code and an improper process and procedure to overwrite the law of the land and to take possession of, to upkeep and maintain, supposedly as trustees, of private or public property, while not being the government of and by and for the people. That's you, and you won't show up. So this is what it's become, right? And when I say you, I'm just saying the generalized supposed public. So that's exactly why they do what they're doing, because it is a semi-private corporation and they are not the true American government. They are a subsidiary corporation of another corporation, and they're there to push policy, statute, and code at the whim of and the expense of the people, their property, and the law of the land. It's a corporate takeover. Whether these folks know it or not, they're being avatared to destroy this nation. They're being avatared to obfuscate people away from the experience of God, which is just a term, as far as I'm concerned, for a spiritual experience of becoming, right? Of succession, of growing and learning, actualizing and realizing, upholding inherent hierarchical power and value systems, what we would call the rule of law. That's all these little demons are here to do, whether they know it or not, is to test and challenge every man and woman on whether they know God by knowing themselves and knowing the universal law and living that with conviction or not. And the answer for most is or not. So if you replicate or reflect a demon, then you're a child of the lie, you're a child of the state, and you are fit to be in bondage. That's what they call it, a bond for a reason. You're in bondage. A man or a woman who does not know the experience of God in trust, equity, and faith and truth is not fit to govern themselves spiritually. So they will be in vice and bondage and latching. Everything is as it's supposed to be. The people get the government they deserve. You can only trick someone who's able to be tricked. And those who are able to be tricked are the ones who have no discernment and self-awareness or awareness of other selves and the truth. And that's the preponderance of the majority.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just, Wow, what an experience. It's definitely going to still take some time, I think, for me to kind of get this always in the forefront of my mind, always remembering that, like, these people are essentially being avatared, and you can try to appeal to their higher reason, right? But when they constantly show you that they're willing to overlook it themselves, it's kind of a fool's errand, in my opinion. But I don't know.
I mean, again, there's dual jurisdiction, and they may not even uphold their proper process and procedure under the common law, which is one of the dual jurisdictions. Even if you invoke it and stand on it and don't give them jurisdiction, they still might slave you because we're that far down the line. But again, you saw that it doesn't seem to be the case. You fucked up somewhere, and I told you where you most likely fucked up. You signed that paper that I didn't sign because they gave you the same rap they gave me. This is the same process everywhere we go. Once you sign that paper, and then it's easier to get in than it is get out. It's like a straight gang, real easy to get in. It's a lot harder to get out. So I'm not saying you can't anytime say, hey, I once believed XYZ and now I've changed that and you can't hold me to that. Yeah, but guess what? We got it on record. You signed that paper. You said you understand and believe. We're not hustling backwards at this point. So guess what? You got to take the loss. No big deal. Give me the 400. It'll cost you way more for law school. And we'll commute this to the time in the box. That's what it is. If you want to teach a man something, you got to hit him in the pocket. If you're not going to hit him in the nutsack, you got to hit him in the pocket. That's how you learn, right? This is how you wind up valuing this. Most people, not everybody, but most people. That's why sales is the way it is, right? If I get up here and give away the good game that could change lives all day, every day, they don't give me shit. If I sold them a trifold, 10,000 people would buy it from me. Because that's the psychology of the average being. Trust, equity, and faith in the truth is not valuable to them. Their $20 in their pocket is. So they'll actually feel like you don't have any value if you don't charge them for something, even if it's $10. That's the psychology of a slave. So that's just the psychology of most men and women, I would say, which is, again, some level of slavery, bondage, vice, latching, or just deception. They mistake the false for the true and the true for the false. So he showed you by giving you answers for the next time that he's not really there to slave you. He's showing you indirectly, like I do, you're enslaving yourself. Because we told you, like we told Paulie Boy, hey, she was so good at it too. I had to laugh. I had to laugh. I couldn't be mad at it. I'm not a hater. If you run the good game on me, even game I don't like, I'm not going to hate on it. The point is I got to just do and be and have better. You're just tightening me up. So when she goes, because I kept sticking to there's nobody on the other side, I don't even get into you don't have jurisdiction because they know I'm saying that indirectly. There's nobody on the other side. Nobody can move this case. I'm the only one interested in equity and standing in this matter. And I have a claim, not a complaint, on record already. So I'm moving my case. And she goes, this court would love to move in favor of you, Mr. Laporta, but you didn't sign the paperwork saying that you don't need an attorney. And if I'd have let her, I'd have thought, oh, she says she's going to rule in favor of me. All I got to do is sign that paper. As soon as I'd have signed that paper, she'd have fucking switched around on me in 3 seconds and slaved me out. So that's good game. I can't be mad at it. I don't need to be mad at it because I outplayed her. I said, you know as well as I do that there is no law, nor is there a statute, as I understand it. I'm no expert. That's you. So correct me if I'm wrong. There is no statute requiring me to sign that paper. Quite the opposite. A verbal acknowledgement is all you folks require. And I gave you that. If you like, I even went one better. See? Because I'm such a nice guy and I'm such a servant at heart. Hey, if you want for your records, me on record saying that I don't require an attorney, I'll fax you over a handwritten claim or correspondence, the same way I have 3 or 4 other times already at this court. You think I'm going to sign your paperwork and your forms? You must be nuts. You don't even have a statutory requirement for that. How are you going to try to move that on any side, common law or statutory administrative? You can't. The only way you could move it is if I let you move it and I move my ass to go sign it. So I even met her in the middle. Hey, don't worry. Then she did. Then it was done by then. She goes, all right. They want to move you out and then they dismiss it because they ain't got you. They ain't got the juice. So I told her, you know as well as I do, there's no requirement for that. I already gave you a verbal acknowledgement. If you like, by the end of today, I'll send over a handwritten claim or acknowledgement sign that I don't require any attorney or legal representation in any of these matters, as you know, because I got a fucking record as long as my arm of me going in there and putting claims on record or correspondence. I've never taken a legal aid, private or public. I've fired them at times or told them I don't need to fire them because they get the point and they know where I'm at. And I'm pretty good at communicating what's going to happen. So when they had me locked up a couple times and they came to the cell, this is your public defender, whatever. I immediately called them and said, listen, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not going to require your services in this matter. Thank you. Goodbye. They never show up. I never see them. The prosecutor stopped talking at some point, and I get my way after that at every court proceeding I've had because it's the way. It's not my way. If I was doing something based on my way that was actually wrong, you wouldn't have seen me again. You know? I'd be gone already, gone and forgotten to some degree, at least for a year or two or a couple, you know? So yeah, man, when they gave me that offer, I knew she was grasping at straws and she had nothing left. And she knew she was going to rule in favor of me unless I signed that paper. And if I'd have signed that paper, guess what also is on that paper? They're good at what they do. The paper that says you don't require an attorney usually also says, I such and such and it's the all caps name. I believe I'm this all caps person and I understand the charges XYZ carry a minimum or maximum of, and then they left the line blank too. When I went back and looked at the paper, because I got it when I left jail, I didn't sign it. She goes, you didn't sign any of the papers or the conditions. You got to come down and do that. You know, I forget how she worded it. If you have to, or you shall, or we would like you to, or I forget how I'm pretty sure she tried to make it sound like it had to happen for her to make a supposed ruling. You know, you think for 3 seconds I'm going to sign a blank check? Not only a paper that says I am the Capitis Diminutio Maxima Persona mask or legal entity, but that I also understand that whatever I did could potentially have me locked up for what would have been, according to them, hundreds of days, like 2 or 3 years. But they didn't even write that out. They just left a blank where the line was blank. It said that you understand that these charges listed below carry a minimum or maximum of blank days. They didn't even fill in the blank. So I'm going to sign a paper that says I stand under all that and that I am that persona that gives you jurisdiction over the person, and then leave the line blank for you to write in 8,000 days or whatever you want. There's no way I'm going to do that or be part of that. You know, not in a million years. So when they put you in a box and they put them papers before you and they get you scared to think that you got to sign that crap, and you sign it at all, let alone if you're going to put anything on paper, non-assumpsit, right? NA, which even that is gambling because you're putting pen to paper. They got you at that point and they're going to hold you to it. And they're going to use that contract for their administrative court to move in contract law. Because folks have such a hard time playing the idiot outside of their profession. It's so hard for the pride and ego to go, I'm just an idiot. I don't know anything about this. I don't understand anything that's going on, and I'm not signing anything. I can't even read that. You guys so want to be like everyone else and be accepted, except like Paulie Boy. I don't give a fuck about being being not like everyone else has been my cachet, is being different from everyone else. That's got me everything that I value and cherish. So, including my self-respect and integrity. So most folks are so trained from the word go to be accepted and validated and liked by everyone. They have no idea what it's like to go, I'm completely on the outside. I don't even want in. I don't understand any of this, and I'm not going along with it respectfully. And I'm not signing anything because I can't read that. You think they're going to take out an extra 6 hours or however many hours to bring someone down to the cell or wherever and explain it to me line by line so that I can understand it? I even tell them, I don't think you can get anyone to make me understand it. I've tried. I can't actually understand how any of you service providers can put on a costume and rule over the man that funds you or created you. I don't understand how that works. It'd be equivalent to saying Junior here just put on a YMCA construction outfit and he's going to rule over his parents. It's bizarre. It's insane as far as I'm concerned. But hey, you guys got your thing going. It seems to be working. All the slaves claim they understand and pay the bill and go along to get along and sign the paper. So it must be real and true for you all. Must be working. but I'll never understand it. So why waste your time with me? Just cut me loose and let me get back and you'll see me again. These people know they're going to see me again. They know ultimately they don't want to see me again because I'm just going to keep calling it out, standing on it. And the more I keep running my mouth, the more another dozen people are going to walk into their court today and do what I'm doing. And yeah, it's going to cause them to have to answer to it and be accountable. It's going to cause them to have to get people right and get them up on the game, just like I'm doing, just like they did with you. They love it. At the core, just like me, we're one and the same, right? We're opposites because at the core, right up the middle of the yin yang, they love it. They love this fucking game. So do I. I just wouldn't want to be on your side of the karmic doling out, right? Ruin what you are and what you serve, right? I don't mind being an asshole online, calling people slaves, popping shit and all the rest of it. I love being hated for that. Ultimately, at my core, my intentions are good. I mean well, and I'm getting results with people that are changing their lives, including my own. I'm not slaving people, but there has to be a form and a function for the devil. So they get to play that part. I'm just your devil, right? I'm whoever you are out there, wherever you are, when I test and challenge you and trigger you, I'm just your devil. I'm not the devil. When I'm working from this intention with this service of truth and upholding the law, these people are working for and with the devil because they got to test and challenge God's people. If you say you're a man or a woman, if you act like in your heart you're a good man or a great man or woman and you're God's people, well, then you should have no problem getting in any court on the land and putting that on record in front of the whole world if you have to. I should be able to bring the whole world in and put a paper before you and say, what say you about who and what you are, what you're going to do here today? And if you can't do the same fucking thing every fucking time because you know who and what you are and what you're not and have a conviction, you're not fit to govern yourself. And you're going to be governed. Right. And the same people who govern you at some point are going to take mercy on you and say, you're so pathetic and embarrassing, like I do on these panels. I go, here's what you actually need to do. Here's the game. Here's what gets you out of all this. And they do that. They did that with you, proving the concept once again. They're not as big of a bully and a meanie and a tyrant as you say I am. They actually want you to do and be and have better. They know the only way to get that to happen is put a fire up under your ass, hellfire. That's how you get a motherfucker jumping for joy. That's how you get them rejoicing for God, is putting that hellfire up under their ass. The devil serves a purpose if you let it be, right? It'll make you or break you. It's whatever you let it be, as I oftentimes say. You know, that is self-mastery, that practice detachment without depersonalization, understanding why we're here, why this is all happening, and how it's going to change, and what our role and form and function is. I don't see anything outside of that experience that's relevant or relative.
Yeah, I would agree. For me, in my own life, there was nothing like the realization that I was on my way to that hellfire that got my ass turned right back around to God, if you want to call it that, whatever you really want to call it that, but back to the way. You know, it's true. Can't argue that point. I did try to give them a notice at that first hearing, and I think what he was trying to tell me is that since I wasn't challenging that jurisdiction at all, they just assumed it as they will, right? I was attempting to give a notice that did, in fact, you know, I'm not acting as that surety for that legal entity, Julian Barbary, right? But I tried to just give it to a judge in person. I don't know if maybe they wanted me to give it to a clerk or something, but they just straight up rejected it, said, I'm not taking that. So I should have definitely been more verbal. It just seems to be that same thing. Needed to be way more in my confidence, not so only I could feel it, but everybody in that room would have been able to feel it too, and not have any fucking reasonable way to question it. You know what I mean? So fuel for the fire, man.
That's the core of what I do here, even if it's a false confidence at times. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make it, whatever a false confidence is, whether I got to get loud, whether I got to get impassioned, whatever I got to get to move forward with a confidence and faith that is felt by me and everyone in the room. How do you think I learned to do a broadcast? You know, I try not to get loud or impassioned at court because it's real easy to be viewed as contemptuous. Obviously, I don't care necessarily here if I'm viewed as contemptuous, but maybe I should, because there may be an aspect of that is true, right? There's been many little demons who told me, Paulie boy, you're so contemptuous on this broadcast, you're going to wind up doing harm to your own bodily vessel. They may have a point, because I've seen that come about, right? Does the truth really need to be screamed and yelled for it to be true? Does it change any level of validity for the truth because it's screamed and yelled? No. So I may have to look at that as that just a mechanism for me to feel confident and faithful and trusting in myself while I'm in fear to move forward and do the next right thing. So I try to summon that energy inside of me, no matter how I'm presenting, where I really believe what I'm saying. I really believe in the value of it. I'm really going to be authentic and accountable. And I just throw away all my care for how it's going to turn out. And I think that's the best way to do a broadcast. I think that's the best way to do a relationship. That's the best way to do courting. Yelling and screaming aside, right? Or even being passionate. You don't necessarily have to be passionate to know the truth and understand it, apply it, and get results and surrender the rest. Your passion is a flame that can work for you and against you.
Exactly. Not falling to that fear. That's definitely been one of my biggest challenges, I can say for me. I bitch up in that moment when my heart starts to like flutter and your knees start to kind of get shaky and stuff like that. But man, I'm here for it. I don't know. I've just fallen in love with life this past probably like close to decade of my life, and I'll be forever thankful for it. So I got to get going. Thank you so much for a bit, and thanks for always having a place here for us to, come and talk these things out. It does more for a lot of people than we probably all know or will ever realize. So make it a great day, all. Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate you. Well, that's what I try to impute, I guess you could say, to a lot of the beta boys who think that there's no place for conflict or conflict resolution. There is. The more you get used to standing in these arenas and having a back and forth with me and me calling you out and dressing you down and pointing out what I'm seeing and feeling, the more you get impervious to that kind of critique and criticism, right? It's not that you should be in love with someone abusing you or denigrating you or devaluing you. It's that you should go beyond love and hate for it and just accept that that's what it is. You don't have to even tolerate it. Just accept that's who and what I am. That's what I'm perceiving. Go above and beyond it to take power back over it, right? That's what the court system is teaching, directly or indirectly. That's what I'm teaching, even though I can't actually teach anything directly or indirectly, is if you can sit in this arena with me and tell you what I believe or see who and what you are, and you not be moved by praise or blame and just accept whether you tolerate or not and go beyond that, take back power over it, is going to develop more confidence and faith and trust in the being in any venue, right? So that's when you find yourself fast forward after 3-4 years, you're at court and go, I'm a lot more comfortable here than I thought I would be because I spent X amount of days being dressed down by the white gorilla and being told this is who and what you are or what you're not and whatever, and then having to really look into myself to find out, is that true or not? And if it is, what can I do to change that? Right? I can't make it true. I just say what I'm seeing and feeling. I might even be projecting at times. The same thing the court's going to do. They're going to presume, assume, project, reject. You have to accept that, whether you tolerate it or not, and go above and beyond it to take power over it. If you get moved by praise or blame in these venues, in these situations, you will get tricked out of your power and position. It's just, this is ancient wisdom and understanding of self-mastery and practicing detachment without depersonalizing. I didn't tell you had to like it. See, that's the thing. It's you probably naturally, like instinctually shouldn't like it. But will your instincts get you fucked up if you make a judgment on everything, whether you like it or not, and make that a thing? Oh, I like this. I don't like that. Oh, that's beautiful. That's ugly. Every time you say one, you say another indirectly, right? Every time you say you like this, you're saying you dislike this. And what you're indirectly saying is it has power over you one way or the other to move you, to sway you. So that's how you develop a core, a foundation for your beingness, is not being moved by praise or blame. What you move by is the truth. What you move by is the facts. What you move by is what needs to happen next. You got to have confidence and trust and faith in yourself and the process in order to do that and be that and not waver. I would know. And you watch the castrated and all the rest of the clowns get pushed around by praise and blame constantly. People suck their feet, they get moved. People tell them that they're this, that, and the third. They cry at court and they fold up. You don't see me doing any of that. You don't see me sucking feet because people lie to me and try to praise me. You don't see me folding like a cheap lawn chair because people projected onto me and rejected the reality of who and what I am and what I'm standing for. Quite the opposite. I ride the middle ground. I either get activated and correct the record and tell them why that's wrong based on the facts, or I just let them do what they're going to do and act like they don't exist. You need to do the same fucking things at court that I'm talking about and showing here that people don't like and think I'm being mean and bullying. You're going to thank me for it one day like you would your fucking stepdaddy when you find your ass at court. If you can accept what I'm doing here, whether you like it or not, tolerate it or not, at times, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, if you just work me and this place and use it for what it's meant to be used for without even feeding in, right? I'm not even saying become like me when I'm doing that. I'm saying use me as a polar reflection, an inverse reflection of what you're going to meet in different areas in life, and do the simulation and take it all the way through. You will be better off for it. The same thing I tell my father every time he gets into interaction with me and wants to deny and fight and run from what I'm saying, mostly because what I'm saying is true to some degree and he can't accept it. So what you refuse to accept, right? What you resist persists. What you ignore persists. So you got to address it and you got to resolve the conflict within and without. The only way to do that is to practice acceptance, practice detachment, and practice communicating effectively, or shutting the fuck up and not letting it move you one way or the other. If you can't do that, you're not in self-mastery. You're not empowered. You're not truly co-creative. You let people, places, and things run and control your inner space and how you're going to live. And that's evident in the way these people live. Their job, their boss, the taxes, the government, the service providers, all of it runs. They're their bitch at home. The home itself, every person, place, or thing in these people's life runs their inner space and determines what they're going to do and be next. You think that that's freedom, empowerment, inspiration? It's the antithesis of it. It's absolute bondage, vice, slavery, and disempowerment. And they can't get enough of it. And when I try to show them from the negative polarity why what I'm doing here at times is valuable for them, they think that I'm telling them they have to love me and like me and accept it and not. It's got nothing to do with your feelers. Discernment and detachment and enlightenment and empowerment has little, if nothing, to do with how you feel about the element coming forth to teach you or show you something directly or indirectly. Oftentimes, it's the opposite. The more you feel about it, the less discernment you're going to have, the less empowerment, inspiration you're going to have. Your emotions are going to deceive you and trick you out of your power and position because you're not going to be able to choose to say or do the next right thing. Man, it's blowing up out there. Are your parents related? You have that caveman look. No, that's an archetypal, authentic, masculine beingness. You wouldn't know it because you're probably a hairless, skinny little hunched over boy who's got no testosterone running through him. So my strong jawline, right, and my big lips and nose and my activated vision and all the rest of my look is actually a throwback to what you want to make fun of. That would have been a warrior in a past time, right? While you walk around with an effeminate, skinny little hunched over bird chest, right? So I'm a large and in charge man who somewhat has access to genetic coding to be more in line with my ancestors so that I can make them proud and emulate and replicate who and what they are. You're a modern day effeminate corporate male who, when you see a real man, you start making fun of it because it makes you uncomfortable. You're intimidated. So why don't you just say what you really feel and mean? This guy's intimidating. He's like a white gorilla. Look at him. He's caveman-ish. I wouldn't want to get in the room with him. He's not polite, nice, kind, and civilized enough. Don't worry, little boy. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to take you back to my cave by your long man bun and mount you. Not today. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Trying to help out. Seemed to be some confusion down there. That's what it was. We know who's one of the heads. Again, you tards can't figure out what I'm doing. So the joke's on you. I use the thumbnail with the face because I told the girl, could you go to like midlife hoe logic? Notice I don't use these people's actual names. I use a name that's more appropriate for who they actually are. This way I never promote them. They can't stand that. So those who know who I'm talking about, they know. Those who don't never get to find out. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm so good at what I do. I believe. I want to believe. So like I said, go to like No Impact Flix's channel. Go to like Midlife Hoe Logic. Go to like Chile Decastrated and others and look up their thumbnails and make some for me mocking them. So that's what I do now. I put up Daddy Trump and the broccoli and I have a a shock surprise face that's meant to draw you into the non-tent, right? And then what I'm doing is often nothing about what the thumbnail's showing, right? So I baited you. It's a bait and switch, just like your government and your politicians and fake ass non-tent creators, and just like your hoes do, right? Your women do. It's a bait and switch. I'm just open about it. So it's like, I don't give a fuck about Trump. He's not my daddy. He's yours. I phrase it that way to get in the algorithm and to pull you folks in so I can thrash you with the truth. And it works every time. Whether you're a leftist slave or a right-wing slave, it works because the Trump tards come in and go, yeah, Trump, U.S. slave, U.S. slave. Or the leftists come in and go, your daddy Trump's working for the new NWO. I know from both sides what's going on. You don't. Nice to meet you. I'm here to help. So, yeah, I know that Donnie's working with the state of Israel and the banksters. We've known that. Those of us who can see and understand politics and history, we've known that. You're not teaching me or showing me anything. I'm here to do that with you. You're not here to do that with me. I'm also here to do that for and with me, by the way. You don't have to do that for me. Like oftentimes, I show me how fruitless it is to even try to talk to you slaves because most of you either can't get it or won't get it. You'll continue to be a leftist swine scum or a right-wing swine scum because your state is fascist scum and Babylonian scum, first and foremost. So you're never going to change. You're never going to do what's true and what's right. You're never going to get some courage on you and put on the armor of God to do the next right thing. You're always going to go along to get along, put your head down and be a follower slave. And that's why most of you ain't fit to be with me or doing what I'm doing. Like, share, subscribe. There you go. You wouldn't know the truth if it hit you in the face. Well, I bet, here's where I bet, proving I know the truth. If I put the link down there that's already in the description, you won't come up because you're a coward. 1, there's me in the truth. If you do come up here, you're going to attempt to tell me the truth and you're going to make yourself look like a fool, whether you know it or 2. 3, here comes the link, right? So we're going to see if I live or know the truth and how much it carries over in probability over and over again, because I've done this. It's not my first rodeo. So there's the link. It's also in the description. Go ahead, Gummy, click the link. Come on up here. Show me and tell me the truth so that I can get it and know and do and be and have better, or you're not able to do what I do. Because if you were, you'd get me right and everyone else right now. For all of our benefit, right? And then you can look like the smartest guy in the room who knows so much, who's going to teach me and others. I'm open to it. But it's never happened here once because you're full of shit. You have no self-awareness and you're a coward on top of it. It's 9 out of 10 times I can do the same rap over and over again, and it applies for 90% of the audience to some degree. I dare you to click it. Right. Here's where the rest of them go. I dare you folks to click it. Even the new folks have seen the rap and what goes on here. And they're patiently waiting for some of you beta male slaves who got such sticky fingers in the chat, all you secretaries, to get on up here and show who and what you are and explain the truth. And you never do it because you don't have it. You just want to claim I'm just like you and don't have it either. It's not the case. I'm sorry to burst the bubble. We're the same on the highest level. On the lowest level, we're miles apart. All right, let's move on because it's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen. And I'd love it to happen. That's the thing. I put the link out over and over again because I even if I don't like it, I learn to love when the average public slave comes up here and tries to get me in the audience right. It always goes so well for me. More importantly, for the truth. More importantly, for the audience. Never so much the people who come up here. They never seem to be pleased. They never seem to be satiated or satisfied or fulfilled with the outcome for some odd reason. That's when I tell them, go start a channel. I'm sure it'll go great. You'll talk a lot of that wisdom you don't have over there. Let's see where we're at. Man, monsoon season's blowing in. The summer wind came blowing in across the ocean. And we're brushing up against the algorithm. I just checked. We're brushing up against it, but we're not dick deep in it today. But that's okay. I kind of like the one day on, one day off thing. I go hard, I scream and yell, and the next day we're off, and I go, all right, it's just us. We're hanging out. You know, a couple guys in, a couple guys out, whatever. All right, final call. Questions, comments, concerns. Link in the description. A lot of secretaries in chat. Anyone going to come on up and have a row with the white gorilla? a repartee, as it were. How about a colloquy? Do they want a colloquy, these folks? I don't know. I'm not getting anything. I don't know. Spaghetti for like 3 minutes on high. You're clear but red at the same time. It's incredible. Now, when you typed that, did you think that that was clever and funny? Did you think that that was gonna? What did that do something for you? The first time you've seen somebody with these features, or what's the deal? These must be very sort of degraded people. They're so self-doubting and insecure and self-hating that they think they're going to project that onto me. It has no effect on me anymore. I've looked at me and this screen so long, 1,000 days straight, I've actually started to think I look good. I went from hating my voice and how I look. I guess I am a narcissist. I've somehow fell in love with who and what I am and my imagery and even my voice. I listen to me back and I watch me and I go, you're actually a pretty good looking guy, Paulie boy. Most of your life, you didn't think that. You felt the opposite. But, you know, you're not the ugliest thing around. You got a pretty decent voice for this broadcasting thing. You got a face for radio and a voice for broadcast. But yeah, it doesn't work with me. I'm above and beyond that at this point. I thank you guys because for the longest time it did work and it forced me to cultivate some level of self-confidence and self-care. So thank you for that. All the loser, failures, demeanors, devaluers, detractors, disintegrators, all the deviants. You've helped me indirectly from the negative perspective. See, I'm now doing what I say you should do with me. I'm showing that I do that back with others. Thank you for pointing out my big nose and my big lips and what you call red hair and all the rest of it. I've actually, because I was so tortured growing up with calling me fat and all the rest of it, right? Like thinking I was unattractive, women would never want to fuck me or love me. You know, I, over the past 5 years, have actually really kind of sank into a level of actualization or realization where I accept how I look and I even kind of like being me. I'm now so delusional. I think I'm more attractive than the majority of these males I see on these panels. Physically, metaphysically, or a combination of both. I'm okay with it. Thank you for being part of that journey and that development. Dumbest comment I've ever seen. Right. And that's saying something because we get a lot of them. You know, it's pretty funny. Okay. So he's making himself laugh, right? He's breaking himself up. He's cracking himself up down there. It's pretty funny. Nobody said you didn't look good, man. Just said you look like a stained Tupperware. Well, all right. I look like stained Tupperware, but I look good. So is this where you blow me? Like, are you negging me so that I like hit on you? Are you doing what you day game slaves who watch VH1's Mystery do when you go out and about? Like the 225 kid, you get any chick you want. Are you like hitting on me? Because that's what it comes across. When most of you little boys come in here and you start talking about my nose and lips and my face and how I look, it's like you think I look good and I inspire you, but you want to neg me so like I hit on you or you hit on me. It's like you want to fuck me or something. Is what it seems like, right? It's odd. It's odd behavior. It'd be one thing if I was someone who you didn't think looked good or you didn't like or was inspired by and you were just calling something out. That's not what you're doing. You're like denying reality to make yourself feel better and try to get my attention. It's a very bitch-like quality, by the way. Just saying. Did women not want to be with you or the women you preferred were not attracted? Well, it was a little bit of both for obvious reasons. I mean, there was a time where I was deep in depression and suicidal, the majority of my life up until a certain point, especially when I was on addictive drugs. As the folks know, they've heard this all, so we're repeating, you know, didn't have a mother. That was the biggest thing, right? So I grew up without the love and care and affection of a mother. And what that does to a boy is it perverts their experience of woman, right? So if you don't get the love of your mother and the affection and interaction, you subconsciously, if not consciously, perceive that you are not lovable. That women in general don't love you. They don't think that you're interesting or attractive. they don't want to be with you. So that was like that was like a core of my dysfunction. Was that experience. So starting with that core of dysfunction, and then going out in the world and interacting with a distorted perspective led me to believe that everything that I thought was true about me was true. So it's kind of like a feedback loop. If you have that at your core and you're not like, you know, caring for yourself, you're not confident, you're not hygienic, you know, you're not kind of living normally, whatever that means, with sort of a normal perspective of self and others. It's a self-perpetuating, generating sort of prophecy. I even had times when I look back on it that women were like totally hitting on me and wanting me to fuck them, if not love them. And I just didn't see it because I didn't think it was possible. Right. Or if I did see shades of it, I didn't think it was possible. Right. Like I thought that there was always some trick coming. Right. And then I verified that many times where, you know, I was thinking about it yesterday. There was one time I was like 18, 19. And at that point I was, you know, at certain points I decided, you know, that I would be clean, dress clean, you know, try to put on my best face or keep up appearances. Right. But at my core, I was not confident and trusting in myself and faithful. I didn't have the experience. But I remember two girls, I guess you could say, had come over my house, you know, and it's like 2 girls coming over your house at all is an open door policy for a man once he has some experience, you know, and one of them was sitting on my lap and I was massaging the other one and it just never went anywhere because I didn't take it anywhere. You know? And at that point too, I was more looking for love than I was looking to fuck, I guess you could say. I was obviously, you know, a very horny creature, but I was still looking for the love in women I was meeting or girls I was meeting that I didn't get from my mother. So I would drive them away because I would expect too much. I would come on too strong. I would actually be too romantic in a sense. Right. So like I was too focused on what I wasn't and what I didn't have and what I wanted to actually make anything work, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's many times when I look back that women were doing everything they could to like throw it at me, and I either couldn't see it or would fumble the ball because of my dysfunction or lack of self-awareness and discernment. This tortured upbringing, you could say, where I chose most of my own suffering, whether I was aware of it or not, is what led to a profound understanding, it would seem, about self and other selves in life and man and woman, or at least a change in perspective that has been, I guess, very good for me and others later in life, you know, with whatever this is. So allows me to, in a way, relate to a lot of other folks on here and other places who are very non-self-aware and distorted in their perspective and have horrible results, but will refuse to accept that their loser failuredom comes from the way they see themselves and others and the way that they emote or lack thereof. So we're back to a middle ground. Yeah, I had another one. You know, I was at the group home was around the corner from me with the apartments I was staying at, and you know, she would have me come over, you know, after school. Oh, you should come over, and she brought me up to a bedroom one time. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and she was looking at me. It was like, you know, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I'm sitting there in my dysfunction, you know, either wanting drugs or waiting for the drugs I already took to kick in, and fucking was the last thing on my mind, because in my mind, why would she want to fuck me? She's a hot little number, you know, a hot dish, as they used to say. You know, that's before my time. But yeah, you know, it's just complete inane ineptness and lack of vision or understanding of self and others. You know, she'd asked me for my shirt, you know, and in my mind, I was like, what, does she want an extra pool cover or something? The group home had a pool out back. When a woman brings you up to a bedroom and asks if she can have your shirt, because I used to wear the 2 shirts thing, you know, like I've been obese for a while. So you work ways around being obese. One of them is the 2 shirt wrap. You do the 2 shirt mambo to cover any breasts and stomach that might be peeking through the one shirt. You throw a double shirt on. So yeah, it's like at a certain point, you start to realize more about yourself and others. And then you start to realize how many opportunities in quotes, that you fumbled. Because is there ever really a mistake? Because odds are, if I'd have knew at that point that the group home girl wanted to fuck me, I probably would have had AIDS, which would have been great for my obesity. Like, it really sheds the pounds, that HIV AIDS, but not so great for quality of life. You know, so I think everything kind of has its purpose to some degree. So like all those opportunities I missed led to a change in awareness and lifestyle, which allowed me to be more thankful and grateful and appreciative and recognize quality and adhere to that rather than deferring to the idea of quantity. You know, the more the merrier. So I never really had an actual hoe phase, I guess you could say. Because all the hoes who threw themselves at me, I didn't think wanted to fuck me. I go, you could do better. I actually said that to my first long-term partner, because I don't like the term girlfriend. But yeah, I said to her, I said, do you know how I know that you're messed up? You decided to date me. That was when I was on heroin. I was even more obese, had nothing going for me, was completely broke. I go, there's got to be, and boy, was I right. That inclination was so on the ball. But hey, you know, you take what you can get at that point, right? Not too many women looking for a broke, no job having heroin addict who's still living at home, who's obese, oddly enough. Not too many folks looking for that. But yeah. Hey, that's self-awareness, is it not? You got to kind of know your strengths and weaknesses, know where you're at, where you come from, and potentially where you're going, and then get there. I don't know what any of this is. If you scroll my chat, you're getting thrown out of here, Sophia. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you claim to be a gang member and all the rest of it. You're probably a goofy bitch. So if you scroll my chat, you're getting thrown out. It doesn't matter what you're saying or doing or feeling. So good luck with the gang shit and all the rest of that. Goofy females thinking they're part of a gang. They fuck you in. You're not actually part of the gang. They fuck you in. You're there for the group fucking, and you're there to hold the drugs, right? And take the charge. But hey, if you want to believe you're part of the gang, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to play or hate. There's a group of African American males out there who need that hole later, right? They can't get a side option. They're going to need that hole, or they're going to need the traffic later. Potentially, some might say. I'm not saying. I'm not putting that on anybody. But that hole is good for more than just one thing. Like, hey, where's Becky? You know, gang, where's Becky? Gang, where's Becky? I don't want to discriminate. You know, gang, where's Becky? We got to get her whole because me and the other 3 African Americans are going to fill all her holes later, either with our genitals or heroin, because like we got something going here. Gang thing. So that's why you're there. Know your role and position. You're not there to pop shit. You're not there to check other men. You're not there to do any of that. Right? Why they're not telling you that? See, I'm not upset with you, Becky or Sophia from Roblox gang. I'm upset with the other African Americans around you who won't get you right and just let you know what the game is. Like good, bad, or indifferent. They're afraid to lose you and others, so they just won't give you the whole game. That's what Uncle Paulie's here for. And they should be ashamed of themselves. Part of being black is being a real N-word. And being a real N-word means keeping it real. And keeping it real means saying, listen, Becky or Sophia, you're only gang because we need to fuck you from time to time and put heroin in your vagina so that no one can find it on us. And you might have to take a charge for that. But you'll get like significantly less time, probably even just probation, than we will because we got a record. If they just would keep it real with themselves and you, I'd have so much more respect for everybody. And they would too. Slightly used hole, right? Nothing wrong with it. All right, I think I'm done. I was rather complete when I came in here. If it wasn't for older sister or women, I would have never lost my virginity. Well, that's good. The man's got anecdotal experiences. You should make a channel. That's pretty decent content. Hey, I fucked my sister and older women to lose my virginity. Probably get at least 400 to 600 viewers. I mean, Slow State's got a steady 400 to 600. He does 8-hour broadcasts so that he can make it look like 1,200. Has anyone seen Queen Sleazen lately, by the way? Another guy who can't get more than 50 viewers, who claims he's king of a castle, has to do 12-hour broadcasts every day just to get 1,000 viewers. It's very entertaining for folks like me. I look forward to the day where you guys just do an hour or two and just accept your view count instead of like trying to up it by wasting all your time, energy, attention doing horrible, watered down content. Just stick to an hour or two. Whatever the views are, they are. Broadcasting all day doesn't change the actual views. It just makes it look like there's more, proving how fake you guys are and willing to lie indirectly. They even lie with their viewers. They go, we got 1.5 thousand views yesterday. No, you didn't. You got 200 viewers who came back and forth 10 times, and it looks like 2,000 over the course of 8 hours. Can we get a clue here? You're not fooling anyone except yourselves. You could have worked the other 6 to 8 hours. You could have figured out how to go read a book, how to do good content for dummies with the other 6 to 8 hours. All right, I'm out of here. This ain't right. See? Like this guy's saying down there. Who's this guy? This ain't right. I'm from, what is that? Hadia? Alhamdulillah. I'm from Hadia, bro. Don't mess with me, nigga. I'm Cubans as shit, my guy. Don't fuck around. Leave my dude. Don't messing with me. You just changed accounts to try to defend yourself and pretend you're someone else. It's not working. Really embarrassing too, by the way. You're that same woman who just claimed she was gang shit, who just changed accounts to defend herself. Really kind of pathetic. Work on that. All right, I'm leaving. Back tomorrow. Somewhere between 12 and 5 MDT. Yeah, say goodnight to the bad guy. Beta bitches from top to bottom. Worried about what Paulie's gonna do and be when they haven't done and been nothing yet. Not even with their own damn women and children. Beyond embarrassing and pathetic. A bunch of beta males raised by Jezebel, tricked out of their power and position, won't act like men because they're too busy replicating the bitch who didn't raise them. Laughable, the shit that you folks say and do. You don't even realize it's an indictment on yourself and your lineage. Tired of you bitch-ass motherfuckers yapping online. This shit's boring. We've been doing this for years now. It's boring. I want to take things to the next level. What is there, maybe 1% of the world who can understand and communicate effectively what's going on and master themselves to a degree that they can move forward and make change? Right. So about 1% of folks we meet on here are going to replicate the 1% in the world. The rest of the 95, 98, whatever it is percent are going to be loser, failure, cowards who are rejecting, ignoring, and projecting and asking for a master to pay to do it. It makes sense if you don't think about it. If you just understand inherent hierarchical power and value systems and dynamics. And you don't have to feel any way about it. I'm not hopeless because of that. I'm motivated and inspired by that. I'm on the right side of history and truth. I'm chosen by God. I'm in a minority here. I don't need the tattoos on my skin. I got real symbols of power and value that work for me on the ground and cause and effect. Bitch ass motherfucker. Disgusting. And I'll say it out the side of my mouth after you break my jaw. It's not going to change the reality. Money can't buy class. Money can't unlame you. Money can't unslave you. Can't unslave or empower the masses. Only knowledge can do that. And I've been giving that the fuck away since the beginning while proving concepts. Next. Why are you mad? I'm not mad. I'm not mad. This is how us East Coasters care and are passionate for truth. The rest of you apparently around the world don't know how we are. This is not mad. If I was mad, I'd stop yelling. I'd stop talking. I'd figure out a way to stop you from doing what I don't like. If I was actually mad and angry and didn't see any point and see redeemability, I'd just cut you the fuck off and move on with my life, which I very rarely, if ever, have done. Because I'm so forgiving and patient, long game, while you folks are so insufferable and frustrating in your insanity. looping and spinning and cycling and pretending you don't know what the fuck I'm saying and why it applies, and focusing on everything else but that, including my tone and my facial expressions and all the rest of it. I think it's a rather interesting game, actually, that you're all playing. Disgusting. Doesn't amount to anything. I know I'm right. You know I'm right. You know a change needs to happen. You're not going to do it. And we're going to play games on how Paulie Boy's not incredible. Let's go. Let's do it. Doesn't change the facts. Doesn't change the facts. I had to learn as well how to, at times, shut up and observe and try to catch the move of what's happening and what things are about. Not by spinning and cycling and asking rhetorical questions. They're not listening.
You can keep repeating the words.
Questions, comments, concerns, presentments, projections, rejections, obfuscations, deflections, presumptions, assumptions, imagined disagreements. I'm open to all of it. I'm talking about consciousness and awareness and life, whether that relates on the micro level to the participants here today, and then indirectly on the macro level to every other self, because on the highest level, we're all one self. I prove that here regularly by you folks coming in here and doing and saying the same exact fucking things, even down to responding and reacting to what I say, the same things, the same way. Proving there's only one self. Just like the I Ching says, there's only 64 combinations of what's going to go on here.
Disgusting.